Now, out in the middle, 131 for 4. And we've got Pope on 24, Butler on 2, but of course Wokes is in next because England have gone in without a batsman in this game. One batsman, that's down the leg side, a bit of a loosener from Holder, which is taken by Darrett. He hasn't caught much today, he's dropped an awful lot. But that at least was taken cleanly. 131 for 4. And West Indies know a couple of wickets here. And they're right in them, Tuffers. I was just getting some advice from your old captain about how to control you in the bubble, and he seemed a bit devoid of ideas.
I thought you'd gone for the red. You've got red.
Well, that's reddish.
Well, no, your eyes.
131 for 4. In comes Holder and bowls, and before goes Pope, plays out to cover, and there's no
lovely sort of.
Yes, thank you, Philip. I had to be honest, because I thought it was. If it was
tricky,
going to be tomorrow,
John. There's so much going on.
I know it was going to be tomorrow.
I know.
Anyway,
great cause.
Yeah, his suit is red, isn't it? Crikey.
Wow. Yeah, it's a beauty.
And you've got your muffers, so they're red.
Well, of course.
So that's all right.
What I've done, John, actually, is get a serviette which is red and put it in my top pocket.
Oh, well done.
There you
Good.
go.
2 slips and a gully there, Holder. From the far end, moves in and bowls, and Pope's on the back foot now. Finding cover.
Quite an important knock for Mr. Butler and England here, isn't it?
Yeah.
As you say, Stoke. We're into the bowlers. 1 wicket, next wicket down.
Yeah.
I mean, they can hang around, but you're not particularly thinking that perhaps they're going to get 100 for you, are you?
Just focuses the mind, doesn't it?
Doesn't it? And I think England have slightly played with that in the back of their mind, the way they've batted. As you say, 131 in 2 sessions. You know, they've just been a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I'd agree. Holder over the wicket, bowls to Pope, forward, playing carefully to cover, and there's no run. But as I keep saying, it's kind of irrelevant, but also relevant in that the batsman we're talking about who wasn't playing was out first ball last match, so
Yeah.
he didn't contribute anything to that either.
But it's a frame of mind.
It is, absolutely.
Isn't it?
That's the point. Yeah.
It's a frame of mind
Yeah.
that you can play 11 batsmen and still be out
Yeah,
for 100. couldn't you?
absolutely.
But it just makes you feel that you've got something in the locker.
Yeah, he might be a bit vulnerable perhaps in the situation.
That's right.
But a dark cloud looming up over to the left there. There's Holder. There's shadow still at his feet. Bowls, and Pope comes forward and plays out firmly back up the pitch. There's no run from there. He's on 24. I love watching Pope bat.
Busy, isn't he?
He's just a good player, isn't he?
Good player.
He's one of the most natural young batsmen I've seen.
Yep.
He really is.
I don't think, as you say, when you're that age, I don't think you particularly feel pressure, isn't it? It's like young golfers with a sort of a 6-foot putt, they just rattle it in. I think as you get a bit older, you start wondering about those, and he just goes out and bats, you're right.
Holder, bowls, he just plays so beautifully straight, and he's got so much time.
Yeah.
And it just looks as if the bat is part of him. It's just a natural part of him. He's a really talented player. He punches gloves there with Butler, having seen that over off. 131 for 4. Holder's puffing away. He chose to put England in again today. But when he did so, the floodlights were on, and it was really very overcast, very sweaty.
Quite like that call by Holder. I mean, could have easily thought,
There you go.
Yeah, exactly. Didn't need to win the match.
Well, especially when he did it last week and England got 470.
Exactly, yeah. Quite a good little,
Yeah.
You put it all on.
There's a wailing siren from outside the bubble, heading off somewhere into Manchester. And Kemo Roach is going to continue, bowled us before tea, he's going to continue from our media centre end.
1 away from 200.
He is. He's going to bowl to Butler. 2 slips and a gully. Roach kicks up his heels, his shoulders rock as he runs in and bowls outside the off stump. Well, I'm not blaming Darrett for that. That bounced twice. It was a horrible one to take. And Holder goes over. He knows the keeper's had a hard time. And he took his cap off there. I think he's tapped on the head a couple of times. He really has. I think he's lost some confidence down there.
Yeah, he has.
But that was a really horrible one to take. He's been really brave to take that. And he's stopped it. Didn't take it cleanly, but that Holder there is take his cap off. And he's rubbed his head a few times. He knows his keeper's lost some confidence. Roach again moves in, bowls to Butler forward. Runs down to mid-on.
Looking to jag one back, isn't he, Roach to Butler? That's where he's vulnerable.
Yeah. There's a lot of noise out there. It's funny, isn't it? When you do have thousands of people in the ground and you've got the barmies and everything else, you hear a bit of a hand clap every now and then, but not the rather strange noises that you hear coming from the fielding team.
Were you a big encourager, John, when you played, were you?
I was always out of range. I was down in the distance. Down at fine
You
leg.
weren't like, come on. Yeah.
No,
Not really.
There wasn't much point doing it from down there.
No.
Goes Roach over the wicket. Bowls short and Butler swings this. Pulls it down to deep backward square leg. He'll take a single. I remember it changing because I retired in 1990 and then came back for one game 2 years later because there was an injury crisis.
Really? Oh, you were dragged out the pub?
Yes. No, I was dragged out of the commentary box. And there's a massive crisis. And I remember I played and it was all a bit strange. I hadn't bowled for 2 years. But anyway.
How'd you go?
Wasn't right. But anyway.
How'd you go?
It was a semi-final of the NatWest.
How did you... Was it?
Yes.
Wow.
It was quite a big game, actually.
Wow.
On the telly and everything. We never had television at Grace Road. Here's Roach bowling and Pope right behind. This plays back up the pitch and there's no run. But my point being that when I retired in 1990, there was a bit of noise around, a little bit of chatter. But when I came back for that game, and you see, it was a big semi-final.
Yeah.
I remember Paul Nixon behind the stumps.
Oh.
I just wanted to say, will you shut up? And stop shouting all this stuff. He was only being encouraging and being kind. But the noise was ridiculous.
Yeah.
No, we beat Essex.
Oh, did you?
Yeah. One for 30.
One for
Anyway, it goes Roach over the wicket and bowls on this edge. Did that carry? Not quite.
There's been a few like that.
Yeah, it just dropped short of Holder. He's got a smile on his face, but it's not a happy smile. It's more a grimace. Oh,
130
saying,
off.
why wasn't I just standing up?
1 for 30 off 10 was that, John?
12, I think.
Oh.
Couldn't move for a week.
No, kid you not.
The poor chap I got out,
Yeah.
John Lewis, played for Essex.
Oh, yes.
I came across him some years later. I mean, a lot of years
He's
later.
a coach, wasn't he?
Up at Durham.
That's right.
And I was doing a dinner. I had a dinner up there, and I sat next to him. I thought I'd recognise this chap, and he revealed himself as having been my last ever wicket. I felt so sorry for him. He barely made it through to the gloves.
No.
I mean, we're talking absolute. But BBC TV were covering the game. And Gower was in the commentary box, and Ray Illingworth actually.
Oh, right, okay.
In goes Roach, bowls, and that's clipped away nicely. That's a good shot from Pope. It's found a gap out at mid-wicket. Will they get three? They're pushing, but the fielder picks up now and throws it back.
Yeah.
And what they did, I didn't realise, was when I came on to bowl, it was right arm fast on the graphic. And as the spell progressed, it went down to literal right arm off spin. Came up for my last couple of overs.
Was it the spell or the over progressed?
Well, I think I bowled them all straight off.
Oh, good luck.
Well,
really?
I had to. Yeah, I had to.
Oh, you weren't coming back for a second.
No.
Did you bat?
No.
Oh, lucky.
Thankfully.
Oh, well done.
I hadn't batted for 2 years.
No.
But Nasser was playing. Thank goodness. The big one was Graham Gooch,
Yes.
who was out. So that was good.
Yeah.
And the next good bit was that whoever I bowled the first ball to, and it was a filthy half volley, drilled it to cover point, where Winston Benjamin pulled off an absolutely brilliant piece of fielding. It was absolutely brilliant. If that had gone for four, I suspect it might have been a different story.
Yeah.
And Nasser, he was terrified. His eyes were getting bigger and bigger. He knew he couldn't get out to me. Just blocked it. Here's Holder, bowling outside the off stump. Butler plays no stroke. He blocked and blocked and blocked. He just knew. You could see him holding the bat tighter and tighter. What's about Jeremy Coney's pace?
Tricky.
Oh, yeah. No, it was
Canny.
horrible. It was very funny. A good big day for Leicestershire. They got to the final.
Yeah. And then, you were dropped for the final?
Well, funnily enough, I was up in the commentary box for the start of the final, and an ashen-faced Nigel Bryars, who was captain, came across from the nursery end, and he was sort of waving up my direction. In comes Holder, who's in bowls, and Butler comes solidly forward and plays towards mid-off. And I thought, what's going on here? So I went down to the Leicestershire dressing room, and David Milnes had sort of blown up in the nets.
Oh, no.
So they said, where are your boots? I said, no. I said, that was my last game.
Oh, so you were asked? And you bottled it?
I said, no, I hadn't got any kit. I had not, we were at Lord's, I had not got any kit.
They could have found you some
Well,
kit.
no.
You
I said,
turned up. So who played?
I said, no, I can't remember. So I'm sorry.
No.
I'm not doing it. Then comes Holder, then bowls outside the off stump, and then quite close to the off stump, that one. Butler leaves it. No.
Did they lose the final?
It was one of the worst finals ever played, because I
was it?
think we were playing Northamptonshire, and a game that lasted for 3 days.
Oh, rain.
Because it rained, and then we had a bit of play, then it rained, and Leicester, from memory, were hammered. But, Andy will look that up.
That's 208 for 7 from their 60 overs. Different era of one-day cricket.
Yes, good score that.
James Whittaker won Test for England, 84 from 169. From 160.
What strike rate?
Just over 50.
Off comes Holder, bowls outside the off stump. There's no stroke. I will forgive him because it was cloudy and horrible and rained a lot through the whole match. And how many days later was it that Northamptonshire knocked off their target?
They won by 8 wickets with 10 overs, 2 balls to spare.
It was an awful game. But it was. I think it went into the third day. But that might be because it felt like it. It might also be the next day. But it seemed to go on forever.
Yeah.
Holder.
Did you get your bonus?
Oh no, it's commentated. Holder wheels round. Oh no, I don't think so. Poles, that's clipped away by Butler firmly. Straight to mid-wicket though. Acrobatically fielded. No, I don't.
They didn't give you a few
I don't
points
think
for
they
that.
did. That's a very good point.
They owe you.
They do.
Did you do that for the love?
I think I did.
Wow.
I know.
David Milnes is the 4th umpire in this game.
Is he? I haven't seen him yet. Oh, good old David.
He used to steam in,
And he did steam in. A big sweeping curved run. Yeah. He was a sort of quite an exciting bowler, and he could go for a few at the same time and sweep his hair back and go roaring in again. Then comes Holder from the far end, and nicely played by Butler, getting onto the front foot.
All that.
Their run. When did that game end? Have you got any record of that? He's looking it up. It's probably one of those things that's quite hard to find the record, but it was a miserable final. So I'm quite relieved I didn't play any part in that, really. But you know when it's the end, don't you? When the end has come.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes, you do indeed. They always say that as well, and you always sort of sit there sort of thinking to yourself, oh, crikey, I don't... Everyone sort of said you'll know, but then...
Yeah.
It
Did you know?
Yes, I was making sandwiches at Old Merchant Taylor's
Right.
during pre-season. Freezing cold, had about 6 or 7 jumpers on and a tracksuit and everything. And it was a bit wet, and the spinners couldn't sort of partake in middle practice, so they asked me to go and make the lunch.
That's a bit of a message, isn't it?
Yeah, and I was buttering bread and putting slabs of ham into sandwiches, and I thought, I think this is the time.
This could be. They might be trying to tell you something.
Well, no, we'll leave off.
Here's Roach, and it's beating Pope, pushing forward, fine ball.
I don't think so, because like the year beforehand, I was top wicket taker at the sex time.
perhaps they were,
Yeah.
So presumably, you said cheese and ham, but no Branston, which suggests that Gatting wasn't playing because he was
perhaps, yeah. But
He was
I didn't particularly make a very good job of it. You know, it was a bit slapping it in, and I thought that was probably it, and it was freezing as well.
Stuart from Birkham said, I remember that semi-final game. Didn't someone interview you on the boundaries you walked off? And all he said was, I don't know how I got away with that. Yes, that's true. Here's Pope coming forward and playing down to backward point.
You burgled a wicket.
Well, it was the television, I think. Someone was waiting. So I walked off for a quote. And I think that was true. Because it was the slowest,
Bit of bowling.
friendliest, but poor old Nasser. His eyes were going like a poker machine. Nobody pulled the jackpot, going round and round. Anyway, happy days.
Yes.
Happy days.
Well, you went out on a win.
Yes, indeed.
Yeah, I don't know what I went out on.
In goes Roach, over the wicket again, bowls to Pope outside the off stump, bit of a grunt. But, Pope plays no stroke. But, finals then were finals, weren't they? Semi-finals, huge occasions, Lord's packed.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's a shame that they've lost that.
Yeah.
Lord's finals was
Trucks, buses, coaches of fans.
They were just special.
The tavern, was that still the tavern?
But you'd see all the members.
Yeah.
You'd see it at Grace Road normally, and there they were. They couldn't believe it. We're in the Mound stand, watching Leicestershire in the final. Now this is slashed away. He's got away with that, Pope. Feeling for a wide one outside the off stump, but a bit stiff-legged, and that flew through, past Hope, and down to third man very quickly. So he goes to 30. Roach has got a rather rueful smile on his face, but he did chase that. Joseph Spratt. Inspired by Rakeem Cornwall, myself and a couple of cricketing friends, we're racking our brains to think of a top-quality test match team of heavyweight players. This is the team we've come up with. Well,
Oh, it's a good team.
Have we got some lawyers on call here?
Well, so I'm worried about reading this out, because there's a couple there who won't be very happy with this at all. And this is pushed down to mid-off, and there's no run. I have to say, Joseph, there's a couple of names that I'm not going to read out, because...
Go on, then.
No.
W.G. Grace opening the batting.
I think that's possibly okay. Mohammad Shahzad. Yeah, he's...
Portly.
Yeah. But you see, the next one, when he played, actually, when you look at the...
Fit.
He was.
Very fit. Great squash player.
Yeah, you know. Then goes Roach and bowls outside the off stump. There's no stroke from Pope.
I'll tell you something. Lunch would have been good. Get there early.
Yeah. There's some, I think, you know, Warwick Armstrong was
Who
a big
was
lad.
Warwick
He was a
Armstrong?
big lad from 1900 and...
Oh, was he?
He
what
played
was
in the
his
early
nickname?
20th century, the Big Ship,
The Big Ship.
and captained Australia in the first tests and their first tour after the First World War
Yeah.
here as well. So played for quite a long
It's
time.
a multinational team, this, but I'm not going to read out the next couple. I mean,
Oh, no.
God.
No. Colin Milburn.
Is he in there?
Was he? He was a...
Arjuna Ranatunga was kind of well built, stocky.
Good batter, he
It was one of the unlucky four. In comes Holder over the wicket, bowls. It's played by Butler back up the pitch, and there's no
What
run.
did I mean unlucky for?
Well, one that I got out.
It's a Tarantino film.
There's only four of
Yeah,
them.
I was going to say.
The Gang of Four is a sad little collection.
They
of
all
people.
they all rode into Greece Road, and John saw them off.
Yeah, well, he was one of the unlucky four. But look, that's Joseph. That's very nice, but I have to be honest with you.
No,
Just for the no,
they haven't been lured in.
no,
Oh, man, going back.
there is 138 for 4. And in fact, well, he's going some of the way back. Now he's going a bit further out towards deep mid-wicket, and there is some dark cloud building up behind him. It's Roston Chase going out there, and I wonder if...
We're meant to get it tonight, aren't we, John?
Well, it's yeah, but not till later. Then hopefully it's going to rain during the night,
Yeah.
and then we're just left with some showers. That's the promising forecast.
Rain before 7, always play at 11. That's what we used to say.
What's that? Here's Holder. Bowls down the leg side, it flicked something, but taken by direction. There's no appeal. But that didn't happen last week.
No, just rained all
It
day.
rained at 7 and rained all day.
Well, there you go. Well, we are in Manchester, I suppose.
Thomas Cullen, boy, sharing memories of Bomber Wells, or Victor was. He took 999 first-class wickets,
Did
but
he?
refused to play his last career game in 1965 for Notts because he wanted the stat of 999 because no one had finished with that figure.
Would you want that?
There's the next one from Holder, but it's kept firmly out to mid-wicket by Butler, who's on 3 not out from 29 balls. Pope 30 from 62. He also claimed to bowl an over in 34 seconds at Worcester, the time it took for the cathedral clock to chime. There's only one person who I suspect could do that quicker, Norman Gifford, on the same ground.
Bump, bump, bump,
He
bump.
did go quickly through. He used to run up, he used to surprise any young batsman.
Yeah.
He always did it. He would suddenly turn around and run up behind the umpire and bowl them, and that would be out. He claimed every young batsman in county cricket by ambushing them, coming up from behind the umpire without them seeing him coming. Butler lets another one go wide of the off stump.
There was another Bomber Wells, wasn't there?
Sussex.
Alan Wells, yeah.
Yeah.
No, Colin Wells.
Colin Wells,
yes.
yeah. The Wells brothers.
Yeah. Why was he called Bomber? Obvious reasons, pilot.
Well, I don't know. Maybe that bomber was called Bomber because of that Bomber Wells, the old Bomber Wells.
Yeah, yes, I should imagine so.
So why was the original Bomber Wells called Bomber?
It's down as 998 first-class wickets.
Oh, he's got it wrong.
Oh, we're 1 wicket out. Holder bowls a bouncer, goes down the leg side.
Has anyone else finished on 998? Because that would have completely blown... Oh, sorry, Andy.
And he pulled a rather tired face there. He's been sourcing wrestling stats and all sorts today. It's not been an easy day for a statistician.
No, I was just going to say, but if he then refused to play his last game because he thought it was 999
Yeah.
and it was really 998, he'd be upset, wouldn't he, if someone had finished on
Well, he
998?
would.
You know, the whole
I
reason.
suspect, unfortunately, it's too late to tell him.
No.
138 for 4. Run rate only 2.3 at the moment.
Yeah, slow going.
Holder moves in, bowls. That's a
Shot.
nice shot. That'll put it up a little bit as Butler drive on the up
Beautiful.
and hits that boundary edge between mid-off and the bowler. Nice way for that over to end at 142 for 4. So Butler 7. Pope has 30. Ben Jeffries confirms that Bomber retired when he thought he had
Yeah.
999, but he did find out that he only took 998, and he was quite annoyed by that. I think he was. Toughest thoughts from you, then Dan's coming in.
A lifetime's work. He got it wrong.
He did have 2 list A one-day wickets, so that took him up to the round 1,000.
Oh, well, there you go. That's probably why he did it. But that was a nice shot by Butler. He'll be happy with that. Looking for a bit of confidence and a score. Are you in yet, Dan? Are you...
I am.
Hey, well done. Hello, mate. Afternoon.
Hello. Roach in to Pope. Lets this go by outside the off stump through to the keeper, no run. I've got a story for you about Warwick Armstrong,
Go on, then.
which I've been told many times,
Yeah.
so I hope it's true.
Yeah.
The big ship.
Yes.
Now, when Frank Woolley made his debut for England, the Kent, and
It's got a stand named after it.
yes, exactly, and he scored an enormous number of runs. He get like 170 hundreds or something mad. Or no, that's Hendren, isn't it? But anyway, bowled a lot, batted a lot. When he made his debut for England, he came in with quite a fanfare. Everyone was really looking forward to seeing a good young batsman, you know. Roach in once more, and Pope lets this go by. Oh, and again, Dowrich has fumbled it. And it's bounced out of his gloves, running down towards the boundary.
Wow.
I don't think it'll quite get there. It'll pull up about a yard or two inside. Butler's come back for a
Quick.
third,
Ooh.
and he'll get home.
He's having a nightmare, Dowrich.
He is, yet more buys for Dowrich. And he's been. That one wasn't so awkward. It swung a bit, but it was pretty regulation taken. It burst out of his hands and past first slip. And it's just on the fingered end as well. That could be quite painful, although he's not symptomising any real pain at the moment. And it's gone past Raheem Cornwall's.
Who didn't chase it.
Son. He didn't. No, he left the captain to go and do that.
Sorry, so there was a big-
145 for 4.
There was a
so
big fanfare.
it's a big fanfare for Frank Woolley. Everyone's very excited.
Yes.
Roach is in, 2 slips, Gully. We'll get there in the end.
Yes.
Butler lets it go outside the off stump through the keeper, no run. Now, in those days, you were permitted, when a wicket had gone down, to bowl practice deliveries on a strip, a couple of strips away from
yeah.
the stumps. Yes. But there was no sort of, you may only bowl 1 or 2 of them. There was just an assumption that people would play fair, and you can bowl a couple of little practice deliveries if you like.
Yeah.
Well, Warwick Armstrong decided, this is a story I've been told.
Yes.
Roach is in again to Butler, lets it go by through to the keeper. Again, no run, a little bit of a way shape, no more. That knowing that Frank Woolley had come in with his fanfare and was quite nervous, that he bowled practice balls for about 15 minutes.
Really? 15 minutes?
This is what I'd heard.
What Frank Woolley was stood at the other end
Well, Woolley was waiting to face his
Yes.
first ball.
for 15 minutes?
Yes.
As he's just...
As he's just like going, no, I'll try another one of those. Nah, it's not coming out quite right. I'll do another. Nah, just another. Now, you wait, son. Roach in once
Wow.
more, very wide this time, and left alone.
Well, that's
innocuous over. This one has been so far. 145 for 4.
It's a bit cheeky.
It's a bit cheeky, isn't
Yes.
it? I think it probably brought about a bit of a rule change.
I
a
should
law
imagine.
change.
He could have been there for hours.
Well, that's the thing, isn't it?
Yeah. A bit like making the old goalkeeper wait in a penalty shootout or something.
Maybe somebody could let me know the veracity of that, or indeed the amount of times. It could be. I mean, I think I've heard that story have minute inflation. You can get up to sort of half an hour. I don't know. It might.
Half an hour? What were the crowd doing?
Well, helpless. Roach in wide again. This interesting line of attack. This from Roach. He's just pushed the ball wider and wider and
Yeah.
wider throughout that over. There were 3 buys from it. Pope has 30, Butler 7, England 145 for 4. 59 overs have been bowled. Roach has 2 for 35. So, yeah,
Amazing.
isn't it? Isn't it wonderfully cussed? I mean, who?
No good for the over rate.
No, I don't think they had
Overrate.
overrate
They
penalties
just
in
all
those
walked off at
days.
6
yeah.
o'clock.
Yeah. Well, Armstrong was quite renowned for being.
Bit cheeky.
Yes, I think the Australians would say playing the game hard.
Oh,
you know,
gamesmanship.
bit of that.
Yeah.
Bit of that. I mean, who would be the man in your era that, if you were able to do that, would have been most likely to have done that? Who would have bent the laws to the very edge of reasonableness? Is that an unfair question to ask?
Yes, I think I'll keep that name to myself. Yeah, gamesmanship.
I quite like it, I've got to say.
Well, I do. Perhaps not in the spirit of the game.
No. But when I play darts against a slow player,
Yes.
I deliberately play really fast.
Yes.
You know, when I play against a fast player, I go really slowly, and then when he's waiting to throw, I just nudge my right shoulder against his right hand as I walk past. Boo. You know.
Yeah.
I know that's probably very wrong,
Yeah.
but it's fun. Gabriel, in from the Anderson end, bowls to Pope, start of a new over, and he just gets on the front foot and works it to Chase at short mid-wicket. And there's no...
And hopefully he's not bigger than you.
Yes, he's not armed with darts. It's, you pick your opponent,
Yes,
that sort of thing.
Yes, you do.
So since tea, England went into tea at 132 for 131. Sorry.
Rocketed along after
Four,
tea.
yes. They've scored 14 runs. After being put into bat by the West Indies this morning. They lost a wicket in the first over. Dominic Sibley, who got 100 in his last innings, got the duck today. Trapped LBW by Kimar Roach. Then Joe Root was quite brilliantly run out by Roston Chase, who swooped to his right at sort of backward point and flung the ball as Root was coming through for a single from a dab from Rory Burns. Gabriel in again, and Pope pushes up to mid-off from the crease, and there's no run. So England went to tea at 66 for 2. They went to lunch at 66 for 2. They went to tea at 131 for 4. So it was 66 for 2 in the first session, 65 for 2 in the second session. They lost 2 wickets in that middle session. Stokes bowled a beauty from Roach, and then Rory Burns cutting at a shorter ball from Roston Chase. Got out to him for the 4th time and was brilliantly snaffled by Rakeem Cornwall. You can see all of that in the highlights tonight or on the BBC Sport website and app. Since tea, England have scored those 14 runs in half an hour as Gabriel is in. That's ball skied in the air by Pope. 2 fielders converging on it. Chase went for it, dived two-handed, didn't get any hands on it. The ball plugged. They've come through for just the 1 run. It was a false shot from Pope. It was short. He pulled it, top-edged it. Chase had a lot of ground to make, and he dived full length, and I wonder if it went through his hands. He got pretty close to it in the end. It would have been a spectacular catch. It was a sort of little shovelly nudge, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And let's see, Chase was absolutely belting after it. The other fielder coming in, Campbell, couldn't have got there. He made a valiant attempt there, did Chase. Let's see. Just about 2 inches away from his fingertips.
Yeah.
Pope, lucky there. Didn't go to hand, but
No, difficult one over your shoulder, right up in the sky. Head moving about as you're legging it to try and get under it. Good effort.
an even greater effort to keep the sun hat on throughout.
Yes.
Great work. So Gabriel's into Butler after they'd taken that single. This worked into the onside by Butler and thought about a single. Certainly Pope wanted one, but Chase swooped to a no ball. It has been signalled by the umpire. England moved to 147 for 4. Pope has 31. Butler has 7 from 37 balls. In his only Test century, he went pretty slowly to start with. Against India, wasn't it? I think at Trent Bridge. Yeah. So he's certainly playing himself in.
Yeah, yeah. Why has Roston Chase got a sun hat on, I wonder?
Well, it's a look, isn't it?
It's a fashion.
Yes, I'd rather it were maroon.
Yes, the Richie Rich. Oh, it's a belter, that was. That was a wide brimmer.
Lights are on properly, full beam. And as Gabriel is in short, and that's pulled away for 4 by Butler. He was a bit edgy, to be honest. It wasn't quite where he wanted it, but he got it very, very fine as a result. And Longleg couldn't get around to field that. And England's 150 comes up, 151 for 4, and Butler moves to double figures. It was short down the leg side, free hit really, but he didn't hit it off the middle. Got it almost off the back of the bat.
Yeah,
and it's
just
down.
Yeah, just caught up with it, didn't he?
Yeah,
knocked it on the head down to fine third. Fine leg.
Fine. As he will. What a contrast West Indies bowling approach has been today. That's another short ball. They've really
mind
hammered
it.
these shorter balls.
Don't mind it. Don't mind it. Hardly saw a short ball in the second test.
Gabriel in down the leg side again, and a good tumbling take from Dowrich as he dives to his left. Gets it two-handed just off the ground.
Well, I don't know whether you saw, Dan, whether you watched all of it, but England had a very good plan of bowling them short balls when they couldn't get any wickets. Then probably what has done for Ben Stokes a little bit injury-wise. I think he did 11 on the spin of just slamming it in round the wicket. It did bear fruit for him, though. And then Broady did it. Well, Broady said that he hadn't bowled well. He was 0 for 60. And then he came round the wicket and just sort of bowled 2 or 3 overs of short balls. And it got him into his action, you know, and it got him going through. And he said that sort of benefited him for when he came over the wicket.
That's intriguing. Wazzy Makram said something interesting about that, which I'll come back to after this ball. Last ball of the 60th over, Gabriel bowls it, and forward in defence comes Butler, plays up to mid-off, there's no run. England 151 for 4 at the end of the 60th over. Butler 11, Pope 31. He said that he said that he found it easier to bowl shorter balls because it was his natural length, whereas actually if he had to strain for the fuller ball. So I wonder if Broad just needed that to get his groove going.
Exactly. Definitely. That's what he said.
We say goodbye to Tuffers. Is he off to TV, Tuffers?
Off to do some highlights.
Oh, lovely. And you can see those highlights tonight at 7 o'clock on BBC Two. And Tuffers in all his glory. And I think Tuffers might be on at the end of the day as well. I think he's going to get the full Tuffers experience today. Andy. And Question of Sport. Is that on today as well? It's Tuffers TV. Welcome to Tuffers TV. Wall-to-wall 24-hour Tufnell. Start of a new over. Roach is in. Shadows coming from the lights and a lovely clip away by Pope up to deep mid-wicket. He's going to get 3 for it, I fancy, as the fielder gets onto it, just manages to haul it back inside the sponge, and they have indeed come through for 3 to take Pope to 34 and England to 154 for 4. It was full on the pads, and Pope's very strong in that region. It was a little too full. Half volley length. It's such a massive outfield here, and quite a slow one as well. We had a lot of rain yesterday, which won't have helped. And so, as we've seen on this ground in the last test as well, quite a few 3s are being scored. Roach turns. It's into Butler this time with 2 slips and a gully. And, Butler pulls at this, gets an under edge, and it rolls down to fine leg for a single. To take him to 12, 155 for 4. Andy, sorry.
Just 10 boundaries in the first 60 overs for England since the ball-by-ball data has been kept, which began consistently from 2001 but also includes the home tests of 1999. In innings in England, that's the joint 3rd fewest boundaries hit in the first 60 overs, where a team's batted through 60 overs. That's including England and their opponents. The fewest was 7. That was at the Oval in 1999, England against New Zealand.
Oh, that was the match in England went bottom of the rankings, isn't it? Cut nicely, beautifully by Pope for 4. That's a wonderful shot, because it was quite deliberate, and he's cut it between gully and backward point, and Boston Chase has to lollop after it and go and collect it. Perfectly timed. Almost a late cut, really. Sort of shot you see Ian Bell play. We keep saying it, but forgive us, because it was very Ian Belly. It was campanile, one might say. If that is an adjective to describe something that's Bell-like.
The second fewest boundaries was 8, which was last week on this ground in England's first innings. 1, 6 and 7 fours, and 10 today in the first 60 overs is the joint 3rd.
Roach in again to Pope, who drives through the hands of mid-wicket. That's a poor bit of fielding. He allows him to pick up another single. It was a little punch, but Campbell there should have done a little bit better. It was coming off the wicket, actually, that they played on in the last test match, so maybe it got a little bit of a bounce off the crease area. He was at a straightish mid-wicket come shortish mid-on, and England moved to 160 for 4. Pope advances now to 39 from 70 balls. He's looked the most fluent of England's batsmen today as Roach is in off the back foot. Butler punches to extra cover. There's no run. Carlos Brathwaite has rejoined us. Welcome back. It's still absorbing stuff, isn't it? But now we've got the lights on. We've got thick, but I don't think rain-bearing cloud. And we can see, that classic floodlight configuration where you see sort of foreshadows of someone. I hope the umpires aren't going to fidget around with light meters. They haven't spoken to each other yet, so far. Roach into Butler, wide of the off stump. He won't be tempted. He's tried that a bit as Roach, and Butler hasn't fallen for it. End of the over, the 61st of England's innings. They're 160 for 4. Butler has 12 from 43. Pope has 39 from 70.
Yeah, these two are batting very, very well. Pope just always looks in form. He's looked in form from the very first innings, and he's finally gotten a decent start behind his name, 39. But yeah, you think in West Indies doing well with the ball, the game hasn't gotten away from them. England would think they're 1 or 2 partnerships away from a 250, 300, because this could be a very quick game, as in the game moving along very quickly and not quite the 470 and
You think so?
bowling.
You think this is a pitch with a little bit more in it, do you?
It looks so, and with the series on the line, with the weather conditions or forecast as it say it would be, you just think both teams would give that more to get a result in the game.
A bit more aggression a bit earlier on.
And you have seen it so far, so yeah.
Gabriel starts in the over from the Anderson end. 2 slips in a gully, and Pope drives gloriously through mid-on for 4. What a shot that is. It's a little too full from Gabriel, but everything Pope does, he does with such style and elegance. That was a lovely shot. There's a gap at mid-on because Chase is a little wide. He's not at a mid-wicket, but he is at a wide mid-on. And Pope's just seen that. It wasn't a long half volley, actually, by any means, but he's middled it superbly into that gap. Moves into the 40s. It's marvellous to watch when Pope gets going.
Yeah, it's a good shot. I liken him to Joe Root a bit, just because you're never quite able to tie him down. You're not able to bowl one side or the other side of the wicket, or pack one side or pack the other side. He always seems to have a shot, whether it be to get a boundary or to get off strike. That's lovely stuff. I mean, as a bowling side, you probably always think you're in the game, but good to watch.
It's funny you should say that, actually. Gabriel in to Pope, who's trapped on the pad too high. I think the umpire's not going to give it. Dowrich has still got his arms beseeching above his head, but I don't think Gabriel really believed in that. It was a little high, I think, above the flap of the pad. Holder's going for it, but he's going for it without a great deal of belief. He sort of looked at the
Copy
ground
that,
at the same
Michael.
time as doing
TV
the
umpire to
referral.
director.
I guess they do have
we've
some
got a
in the
player
bag.
review for LBW. Original decision is not out. Can we have a look at the front foot first, please?
Now, we get to see this probably because the bowler's coming towards us, so the impact, I felt,
Okay,
was a
we've
little
got a fair
high.
delivery.
Find
Can we
out
move on
shortly.
to front on spin vision, please?
As you heard, a fair delivery. It's the top
There
of the
doesn't appear
pad.
to be any bat there. In fact, there isn't any bat there, so we can go on to ball tracking when ready, please.
Umpire's call for height, perhaps. He's not a tall man, Pope. It's jagged back at
Pitching
him.
outside
Oh,
off,
hello.
impact in line.
Umpire's call.
Stumps, umpire's call. We can go back to Michael on field. Michael, you're on screen now. Stay with your original decision.
And it really was the very top. The bottom of the ball was hitting the top of the bail, really, there. So it was the tight one. It wasn't a poor review. But that's something we probably need to remember now, is that Pope isn't the tallest. So if he gets hit above the knee roll, the bowler is still in business. He was very much trapped on the crease, and it's yet another example of the bowlers bowling for the jag back and the batsman not being quite equal to it.
It was a lot closer than I thought. A lot closer. But he was very deep. So that could explain why Shannon's not happy.
Well, it's frustrating, isn't it, for him as he comes hurtling in once more to a Pope who drives into the ground. Didn't time it perfectly, but it hits it to mid-off and there is no run. Pope has 43, Butler 12, 164 for 4. I was talking to Joe Reed about an innings that Pope played against Yorkshire in 2018. He scored 158 not out. And Root was there watching all of it. And he said something very similar. He said that the Pope reminded him of himself, the way he played, just as you said. And that the problem they had was that they couldn't keep him quiet because he was able to manipulate the ball on either side. He had a sort of get off strike shot every time. And they tried numerous plans and they couldn't tie him down. Short, pulled through mid-wicket for 4. Wonderful shot from Pope. splendid shot. He's played 2 superb shots in this over and moves to 47. And as I said earlier, by far and away the most fluent innings we have seen today. And it was too short, banged into the pitch, but he got right on top of it, played it almost on the front foot through mid-wicket. And England have only scored 11 boundaries?
Well,
now 12.
It was
is it?
7 in the first 56 overs and now 6 in the last 31 balls.
And Pope scored 5.
4 of those.
Four of those.
1 off the edge.
Yes. Well, less spoken about that, the better. Here comes Gabriel into Pope again. And that's flicked away down the leg side, but he misses it, doesn't get anything on it. Taken by Dowrich comfortably enough. 168 for 4. The partnership now up to 46. It's been a crucial partnership for England because when they lost that 4th wicket at 122, the West Indies having elected to bowl first, and with England having left out Sam Curran and Zach Crawley, really have sniffed the lower order. They still will pick up a couple of wickets quickly, but these two are just repairing a bit of the damage. It's been one of those days where wickets have fallen, not surprisingly as such, but sporadically, but through really good cricket, really good bits of cricket we've seen so far as Gabriel is in to complete the over, and Pope just pushes into the onside to chase at mid-wicket, and there is no run. End of the 62nd over. England 168 for 4. Butler has 12 from 43. Pope, a beautiful fluent 47 from 76. More thoughts from Carlos Brathwaite, and then another star of stage, screen and TV, Simon Mann, is going to come and replace me.
Yeah, 62 overs gone. The West Indies done a fantastic job. Because they're a seamer short, if you had Alzarri Joseph to help prop the attack up, I'd probably say go short at these two guys. Get some overs in just before the second new ball. West Indies is not a team renowned for taking the second new ball right away or anxious to take the second new ball, but it may be wise to get the spin on now so that when that second new ball becomes available, they can grab and go and have a late burst this evening and hope to get another 1 or 2 wickets if need be.
Well, the game's in the balance here. 168 for 4. Krumer Bonner's coming onto the field. Is it Roston Chase who's going off down beneath us? I think it is.
Yeah.
Walking very slowly off as well. Not sure what that's about. He did sprint for that catch about 10 minutes ago and then died, and I don't think that was the problem. Anyway, under leaden skies with the floodlights on, this is Holder going into bowl to Butler. And he's with him now on leg stump. Butler turns it away, possibly off the pad. Blackwood's after it from square leg. Lobs in the return at the stumps. It is a leg by. 169 for 4. So Butler stays on 12. And Pope is 3 away from a half century. He's had some near things, but he's also played some fine strokes. Yeah, he's miscue in the air to near to chase the drive that went past the inside edge, the streaky one through backward point. This is Holder going into bowl to him. He's with him now, and Pope hits it away for 4 through the offside to reach a half century. Does not bother running. Swashbuckling stroke from Ollie Pope to bring him that half century. His 4th Test 50. He's also made 100. 173 for 4. Fine way to bring up your half century.
He's done so much for this innings. Not only giving it impetus, but think about Jos Buttler at the other end. Not sure of his play, still trying to find his feet. And Ollie Pope has done the bulk of the scoring, and the way he's done it would have taken some pressure off Jos Buttler. Very well deserved half century.
I'll give you his details in just a moment. Holder bowls, Pope defends, goes up to Roach at mid-on, and there's no run.
Yes, he says 5th 50-plus score, his first in 5 home tests. He had 4 overseas over a productive winter, came from 77 balls with his 6th 4.
77 ball half century feels like riches in this series. It's been hard work for the batsman. We've seen a lot of defensive batting and quite slow scoring for England. I mean, for cricket in England in Test cricket. Normally have a very fast outfield, not so at Old Trafford. Holder bowls, And Pope stands up and pokes that away into the offside. Goes out to Bonner, fielding in the covers. And he returns to Dowrich. 173 for 4. Pope has doubled, at least, and more than doubled his run tally in the series so far with this innings.
Question for Andy. Who's the sub that would have done the most mileage without having played a game in a test series? It's sure Bonner up there.
Yeah, he must be. Just say that, Andy. There's the holder outside the off stump. There's no stroke from Ollie Pope. Actually, when you think about it, I mean, tough as well earlier. He was in the green room along the way there, and when Shannon Gabriel walked off, he saw Lacuna Bonner coming on. He thought, oh, that must be terrible for him. You know, he's probably going to have to field all day. But probably if you've been over here not playing any cricket, it's much better to be in the action, actually being occupied during a day. You think you've not done a great deal, a massive amount for a month and a half.
And there's good banter as well. Every time ball comes to him, he should have the most energy. The boys are on to him.
Holder bowls, Pope plays defensively again. And there is Bonner trotting to his right from cover to pick up. And there's no run, 173 for 4. I wonder if Chase is going to come back on. Just looking down. No, I don't think so, but lots of backup squad members are coming on. I can see Jack Leach heading out to the middle to provide the batsman with a drink. He was only 49 minutes away on not the warmest of days, but both Pope and Buttler are having drinks at the moment.
Dan has suggested Ravi Jadeja in the 2018 England-India series as a substitute who clocked up some serious mileage. He did during the World Cup as well. Was only belatedly selected by India for that, and came in and almost stole the semi-final from New Zealand. Pope's half-century is the 14th half-century of the series. Only Ben Stokes' second innings thrash the other day, which was a 36-ball 50. Quicker, the next quickest was Zach Crawley's 80-ball half-century in the first test in Southampton.
Yeah, it's felt like that. Without knowing the stats, it just felt like that the half-centuries have been quite slow in this series. This is Shannon Gabriel moving in again to bowl to Buttler. Buttler stands up and punches it into the offside. There's Bonner again. The ball is following her around.
Like a magnet.
Yeah. Number 89 on the back of his shirt. Tell us a bit about him as a cricketer.
He actually used to play on the 9 cricket as a leg spinner. He's had the yips ever since, so not much bowling for him. But as a batsman, pretty versatile, anywhere from number 3 to number 6. And plays more so the long game than not. He wouldn't get you the big scores, but I guess a bit of Joe Denley. Absorb the pressure, but then wouldn't translate it into big scores, but he'd get you some starts.
There's Gabriel going into bowl to Buttler. Buttler hits this to the left of Bonner this time, out towards the cover boundary. Blackwood so quick from backward point is after. It's a long boundary out there, so Buttler can come back for 3 nicely struck runs through the offside. Buttler to 15. England to 176 for 4. So if Bonner were to be called into this West Indies side, who would he naturally replace? Who's his like for like, if you like?
Probably Shea Hope. Not anywhere as classy as Shea is, but he'll slot into the middle order, and that's probably the only potential middle order slot available at the moment if Shea doesn't get any runs. And I predict Brooks to 3, Chase to 4, and probably Bonner at 5.
Right. So back with Pope on strike at 176 for 4. It's brightening up a fraction now. Dark clouds moving away from Old Trafford. Pope drives, slice drive 4, third man. It went flashing past Shea Hope again. Pope didn't bother running. Now that was not one of his more certain strokes, but it brings him another boundary and takes England to 180 for 4. Nkrumah Bonner actually played in that T20 series against England. I don't know if you remember it, back in 2011, where it's freezing cold at the Oval, and the West Indies had to come over for 2 or 3 one-day T20s right at the end of, I say, the summer. It wasn't really the summer by then.
I think
Graham
Hales
Swan
got 99 in one of them.
Yeah, could well have done. Graham Swan captained England. And spectators perishing cold on the Oval terraces in late September. Nice drive from Pope. Goes up towards mid-off. Anyway, Bonner made his international debut in that series a long time ago now, nearly 10 years ago. He's 31. Anyway, he's out there, capless at cover, and the ball beginning to flash to the boundary with unnerving regularity as far as West Indies is concerned, and being able here to push the score along, nearly up to 3 and over. This is the 64th over, 180 for 4. Pope has chanced his arm a bit, I think it's fair to say, but also plays splendidly. 55 not out. Gabriel looking to make a vital breakthrough, goes in and bowls to Pope. It's down the leg side. Pope inside the line of it, and it's taken by Shane Dowrich, who's had one of those days behind the stumps today. What was he up to in terms of buys? Is it 12, Andy?
Yes, 12 buys.
12 buys. And some of them not particularly difficult takes as well. As if Carlos was suggesting actually earlier that he might have got a finger injury, which might be undermining his confidence a bit.
Well, I hope he does. That'll be a good excuse to have.
Yeah, well, that's true. 2 slips in and a gully. Cornwall there at first slip, who took that wonderful catch to get rid of Burns for 57. Stuck in his right hand, but he just got it into the right position. Wide one and driven by Pope, and he doesn't really want to run for that either. He jogs halfway down the pitch. That's gone for 4 as well. Another magnificent stroke from Ollie Pope. Bit of width from Shannon Gabriel, who kicks at the turf, and Pope, a flat batted drive, crashed it through the offside. Thrilling batting. 184 for 4. Pope to 59. Some of these strokes from Ollie Pope, not all of them mind you, but some of them really deserve a crowd.
Yeah, and this is around the time when Stokes got the ball in hand and got into his short ball plan from around the wicket and halted the scoring. They're now beginning to accelerate, and I would love Pope in my team if I'm a middle order, lower order bat at 7 or 8. You're not just allowing the pacers with the older ball to jog in and put the ball on a spot. He's definitely putting some pressure back on them, and he's getting some boundaries as a result.
Yeah, it's been a glut of boundaries of late.
Pope has scored 28 from his last 18 balls, including 6 fours.
Holder, new over, bowls to Butler. Butler clips that away. That's going out towards the boundary as well at deep back with square leg. I don't think this will go for 4. Holder running round from fine leg in front of the hotel. Picks it up inside the rope, and Butler has to be content with 3. And he moves on to 18. So he's got a start, Jos Buttler. And he's done that a couple of times in this series so far. 35 in the first innings at Southampton. And then in the first innings here, he made 40. But he loves something significant. And England looking for the partnership that drags them out ahead of the West Indies. Really puts pressure on West Indies when it's their turn to bat. Holder bowls to Pope. That's a good delivery from Holder. Actually outside the off stump, tempting Pope. Pope allowed it to go by. West Indies got a man back on the deep backward point boundary. Shamar Brooks with not many for company down there. A man on his own in the deep.
Yeah, I would have expected to see the spinner by now, probably holding at one end, and the pacers operating from the other end, push the game a bit deeper and give some control, but we haven't seen the spinner after tees yet.
Holder bowls, that's onto the pads of Pope, turned away down towards fine leg. Is that Craig Brathwaite down there on the fine leg boundary? It is. Brathwaite. He sort of almost hides in the field, Brathwaite. Feels a bit like Usman Khawaja of Australia. You can go through a whole day's play and where's Khawaja on the field? Or where has he been all day? Not really fielded it very much.
He's not the quickest, doesn't have the best arm, just does enough. Ball comes to him, he stops it, he throws it back. Not much fuss.
Very solid batsman. 188 for 4. Holder runs in. I don't know whether Holder lost his run up there or whether Butler looked up and Holder was much closer to him than he imagined, so pulled away. Holder's got to walk all the way back, and he's walking back very slowly as well. That a bit frustrated. It's not nice actually when you're just about to deliver and a batsman pulls away and you've got a long run.
There's something I actually want to watch, Simon, because I saw Root do it twice to Rochi. I don't know if it's a plan or a tactic, but it's definitely something to watch.
Butler tapping away, looks up now to see Holder approaching, and Holder gets one to come back in a fraction, but not a great deal of pace from Holder, 80 miles an hour, so Butler was able to adjust and play defensively towards mid-on, and there's no run. I was watching Butler as Holder ran in there, and he's got that very deliberate, lots of batsmen have those movements, don't they? And I noticed his head was down quite a long time, so when he just looked up and saw Holder just about to deliver and thought, I'm not quite ready, startled me.
He's been trying to get a lot further crosses with his feet.
Holder up to the stumps again to bowl to Butler, close to off stump. Butler offers the pad, lets it go.
Yeah, he's been making a real effort to get over to off stump more of his feet. We saw some video of his head getting over and his feet not moving, and as a result falling over. It doesn't seem as though he's changed his head position too much, but at least his feet are now going right across, so he's in a more central, neutral position to access the ball. He's got a couple of inside edges with the ball tracking back as opposed to missing them as he did in the first couple of tests.
Last ball of the over. Holder into Butler. It's a no ball. I say it's the last ball of the over. We'll have another one. No ball. A rare no ball signalled by the standing umpire. Richard Kettleborough spotted Holder's front foot over the line. Butler played defensively into the offside. So 189 for 4. They came together, these two, at 122 for 4 when Burns was really well caught by Cornwall at slip. Just seeing that no ball. Holder was a long way over there. Really big no ball. Holder to complete the over, bowls wide of the off stump of Josh Butler. Butler ignores it, taken low down by Dowrich. So 65 overs have been bowled. We can go on until 6:30, so an hour and a half's cricket if the light allows us to go that far, and it has brightened up of late despite the fact the floodlights are beaming down on a July afternoon in Manchester. The electricity bill for this series must be quite high because we've seen them a lot.
Partly because we've been kept in the bubble as well, and there's not been much eaten out. And yeah, the lights have been on almost every single day, the second test match, and for a lot of this third one as well.
Are you going to be in a bubble at CPL, or are you sort of looking forward to some freedom when this series ends? What's it going to be like?
I could foresee some sort of restriction, but it's not been circulated as yet how strict the rules would be. I think there's a 7-day quarantine when we do arrive, confined to the hotel, and then there'll be practice, and then eventually start on the 18th. So, but now I'm a seasoned campaigner at the biosecure bubble. So.
Exactly. Yeah, you better exchange stories about it with those people who haven't been in it. A lot of these players, of course, will be playing in the CPL as well. It's going to be Rakeem Cornwall to bowl. His 14th over of the day. Step, bowl into Pope. Turned away to back of square leg. Picked up by the ubiquitous Bonner. And there is no run. So Cornwall's bowling. A slip and a short leg. Pope looked to be busy against him earlier. That one's fired in by Cornwall. He's got a lot of arm action, a lot of shoulder action in his bowling. Pushed away by Pope into the onside to Hope at straight mid-wicket.
Sorry, Simon. Gabriel's last 3 over spell. Oh.
Here's Cornwall bowling to Pope, clipped to mid-wicket. There's no run.
Doesn't give you a lot of time. And none for 25 in 3 overs. His first 13.2 overs, including the over that was interrupted by his injury early on, went for just 22. So England finally getting on top of him.
He gets to his overs very quickly, Rakeem Cornwall. Pope defends back up the pitch. I mean, it's fair to say his walk back does not exercise him too much. Very short run. Although even though it's a short run, he's a very slow walker back to his mark. 1, 2, 3 steps into bowl to Pope, who clips it up towards mid-on. And there is no run again. Tight field for Cornwall. 3 saving 1 on the off. 3 on the on, saving a single. A short leg. There's 1 man back at deep square. They'll move in now. Cornwall bowls. It's flicked towards straight mid-on. They're off for a quick single. And they get it as well. John Campbell wearing his sun hat to his left. Fields. So Pope takes the bowling. He's on to 61. And it's 190 for 4. Vic's here.
Yep. Well, it's an odd situation. Watching Cornwall bowl, you could be, watching from the village green. You don't often see Test cricketers looking.
You see
like
lots
that.
of club bowlers like that. though, don't you?
Yeah. But he knows what he's doing clearly, but hasn't had much success yet. He's bowled okay. It's been strange that they haven't had a spinner on at all in the last hour. They got a new ball available, not far away, but will they have any ammunition to bowl with it?
They waited a long time in the last Test match. Holder bowls, one angling back in to Pope, who plays it defensively back to the bowler, and there's no run.
And what's also odd is we're watching a partnership between Pope and Butler. Well, there's no debate who the senior partner is in this union. Pope has played so fluently compared to everyone else, really.
We were talking earlier, weren't we, about Pope versus Crawley. I mean, I never thought that was really an issue. I always thought Pope's ahead of Crawley, definitely in the...
It's just he hadn't got a
order.
score this series. Crawley had got a score, batting 3.
Holder bowls, that's wide, and Pope plays a strange-looking shot to that. There's no foot movement. He reached for it and almost sort of patted it on the drive to Bonner at cover.
He knew midway through that stroke that he was not in the right position, but he was good enough just to play it with his hands in the knowledge that his feet aren't in the right spot. And then he chastised himself, having
Don't
patted
see
it to
that happen
mid-off.
very often, do you? Adjustment. Almost as if he's saying, "Oh, no, I can't play that one. I'll just knock it away.
Yeah.
Bowl in the next one. I'll get my feet moving." Holder tries again, bowls to Pope. He does get his feet moving, shuffles back and across, and allows that to go by outside the off stump. And there's another one for Dowrich. Holder wicketless. He's struggled to make an impression actually since the first innings of the first Test when he took 6. Am I right in thinking he's only taken 2 wickets since then?
Yes, 2 wickets in 75 overs. Gabriel is wicketless in 49.2 overs in the 2 games on this ground.
Holder moves into bowl to Pope. Pope is right forward. Nice looking defensive shot up towards mid-off. He's got a cleaning bill on his England shirt tonight. That was one of those run-out opportunities, I'd imagine, diving to make his ground. Great smear of mud on his stomach. Comes down the pitch to have a quick chat with Jos Buttler.
They've all got special shirts for this match. Well, I expect they get new shirts for every match, but with the Ruth Strauss Foundation, it's all in
How many
red.
Yeah, how many shirts with red numbers have they got in their locker? Pope goes back, fiddles a single into the offside to the right of backward point. One more run to the total.
Everything's polished about Pope, except for his shirt at the moment. It looks like he's been rolling in the mud somewhere.
Well, I'd like to see that. Actually, if you're a batsman, you want to dive to make your ground, don't you? You want to...
Well,
full
if
commitment.
necessary.
Not all batsmen dive to make their ground when there's a run out on.
I bet Herbert Sutcliffe, I can't ever see a picture of Herbert Sutcliffe with him. He always looked very dapper.
Yeah, but how many times does he run out? Holder bowls. Forward goes Butler. Plays it to mid-on.
Colin Cowdrey. I always enjoy watching the last ball of one-day final.
I've got to go, Victor.
Okay.
He's just coming in. You can continue that story.
And Colin Cowdrey, of course, had not played a great deal of one-day cricket, but he found himself batting off the last ball in the first innings of a one-day final. And he stroked it beautifully to deep extra cover. And it looked a cast iron too, certainly in the modern era. And he's batting with Alan Knott, and he stroked it from one, and then Knott turned, came back for the second, and he said no, because that's the way he always played. And he wasn't going to dive, and he wasn't going to get a muddy shirt.
Cornwall bowling from the James Anderson end to Pope, who turns it around the corner past short leg out to deep backward square for a single, goes to 63, 192 for 4. Yeah, it was different back then, wasn't it, Vic?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I always look pretty scruffy, if that helps. Dom Bess reminded me of myself, but not so athletic. In the last
Right,
test,
so
he
he's
had
just
mud
learnt from
everywhere.
you. Okay.
No. He's too young for that.
Butler clips that to short fine, no run. Bowling on middle stump there, Rakeem Cornwall, as he makes a slow walk back to the top of his mark. The ball gets tossed to him. Bit of a breeze blowing across now, as the lights are on here at Old Trafford. Cornwall through his action to Butler, who smashes that up and over mid-wicket. A forceful shot. I think he might have gone for 6. It has. So Butler looking to score with intent against the spinner. The score now goes to 198 for 4.
Well, that's the Butler of old. It was not a violent shot, really, but it was just beautifully timed. He didn't come down the pitch. It was full in length. It was in what he decided was his slot. And with one swing of the bat, I'm just trying to see how far into the stands that went. Well, quite a long way. No, it didn't. It may have just bounced just short of the stands, but it's big boundaries here at Old Trafford.
It's just a pickup shot, really, as he crouches in his crease. Cornwall bowls again on the back foot. Manoeuvres that to square leg as fine leg rushes around to collect it. Sent back is Butler, who is on 24 now of 55 deliveries. Didn't look as fluent early on in his innings, but we know how much pressure he's under. And Pope at the other end has looked as fluent as ever as Cornwall bowls to Butler, who pushes that to mid-on, no run. It's a big innings for him, Vic, which I'm sure you've already talked about.
No, I haven't.
last. Oh, okay.
But it's a big innings.
There's Cornwall bowls to Butler, who again, this is a bigger strike, up and over mid-wicket. And this time it goes 20 rows back into the stands underneath the point. At the end of the over, it's 204 for 4. And Butler having a field day.
Well, you might have
Cornwall.
heard the crack of the ball on bat on ball there, and I think he really middled that, and he gave that a little bit of extra Humpty, and it went a long way. And the stock response, I think, for the Osprey knows, best have one out, Skip. That's went an awful long way. He's bided his time, but he's just played 2 shots. Well, that's got him 12 runs. Seemingly risk-free. He's been very watchful. It is a big innings for him. It's an even bigger... Well, it's a big innings for him. It's a big innings for us media hacks in the press boxes or the commentary boxes. I'm not sure it's such a big innings for the England selectors and Joe Root and Chris Silver, because I think there's a lot of talk about when's Ben Foakes. I don't think that's how they think. And I can understand why. But for Butler himself, it's not quite so straightforward, nor for people who write and talk about it.
Holder pushes away from the Brian Statham end, bowling to Pope, who guides to deep point. Just leans on it as he comes through for 1, goes to 64, 205 for 4.
Even I've been thinking, well, maybe they should... I mean, because I'm a big Butler fan, for, well, many good reasons.
Yeah.
But I'm thinking, well, hang on a minute. He's got to deliver something soon, and is it doing him more harm than good, and would someone else be better?
Well, he wants to play properly when he gets out.
But
to the middle.
what did rile me a bit is to jump to conclusions after the last Test match was nonsense. He got 40 in the first innings when they needed quick runs, got caught on the boundary, and then the second innings he went and opened the batting. He had a big swish, nobly.
Butler now forward presses and lunges at the ball, leaves it outside the off stump.
And got out. But to make a judgment on that particular match is nonsense, because in both innings he was actually almost in a stupidly selfless way doing the right thing. You can judge him on this situation more, perhaps.
And that's what I'd love to talk to you about, is that everyone kind of, when you think of Jos Buttler in Test cricket, everyone talks about should he just play an Adam Gilchrist type role where he's on the attack from ball 1 as Butler defends to the offside, and in this innings we've actually seen him build through it. He's looked good defensively, and now he can start to open up a little bit more, but it very much feels to me, ever since he's come back into the Test team, whenever it was 2 years ago, he's wanted to play adapt to the condition in a proper way.
Yeah, and he's sort of learning how to do that as well. If you're like Buttler, you've got all these decisions to make. Whereas if you're
because he's
Rory
got so
Burns,
many shots.
If you're Rory Burns, there's only one way you play. You play like Rory Burns.
Yeah. Holder past the umpire to Buttler, who's covering that ball to the offside, no run.
So since he's come back into the England team, he's barely played a sort of Butler-esque innings, I don't think. He's played some solid innings. He's still discovering, and hopefully what is so exciting when it works is that he can play in the most expansive way and change a game in a session. But when he came out today, 120 for 4, the tail is not far away. He's tried to do it properly, and so far so good, but he does, a bit like we talked about Joe Rubin, and he needs to convert something.
Shoulder shimmy from Buttler as he again just lunges forwards. He's into the ball, allows it to pass to the keeper as he shifts some dirt at the crease with his back foot, now walking off to square leg. And actually in that first Test match he came in situations where needed to steady the ship again. And so he couldn't really play in that way. And the last thing you want to do is he gets into a mindset where he feels he has to play like that every single time, and he's feeling under pressure even when they have set a platform. But it's a mouth-watering prospect. I think that's the thing for England fans, is Holder bowls to Buttler, who again is defending to the offside. At the end of the over, it's 205 for 4. Buttler on 30, Pope on 64. The mouth-watering prospect is that you've got this aggressive wicket-keeper who is in the team against a side like Australia for the Ashes, who can fight fire with fire.
He can, although, it is obviously, he's reminded us, it is not simple just to replicate your one-day cricket. You look at Jason Roy, it's very hard at the top of the order.
Yeah.
And there are certain situations where you can't do it. Gilchrist, increasingly, you just look back in amazement at, he was sort of a freak, and he managed to be able to bat like that in nearly every situation. Partly because he was so well established in the team. Although then you think 2005, what did Gilchrist do in 2005? Not a great deal.
But then you also think about the players that were coming in before him and allowing him that platform to then go big as well. So Cornwall comes in now to Pope as Darrich drops another ball down the leg side. I don't think he got anything on it, Pope, as he looked to kind of flip it to the leg side. There's a huge height difference between Darrich and Jason Holder, who's standing at first slip, as Cornwall bowls to Pope, working that to square leg again as Short Fine runs around to collect the ball. Kemar Roach there, he tosses it to mid-wicket, no run is taken.
No bat pads, no, it's spread a bit. Even for Pope, there's a long on.
Cornwall is through his action as Pope advances and plays the ball back to the bowler. Jos Buttler leaning on his bat at the James Anderson end, as Cornwall is already back and ready to bowl again. Here he comes, up and over. Pope drives back to him.
Doesn't he? Got great hands, doesn't he? Hit that quite hard into the ground. He just
that's exactly what it was. It's so effortless for him as he strides in. 1-2 bowls. Pope forward, smothers the ball. Pulls out to the leg side as Darrich comes around to take the ball, and Pope, certainly when he first came in, he was looking to play with a lot of intent and busyness. Here he's just being a bit more circumspect as he crouches and pats that to the offside in defence. At the end of the over, it is 205 for 4. 70 overs have been bowled in this innings. Buttler is on 30 and Pope on 64. They punch gloves now because drinks will be taken. West Indies players gathering together in front of us.
Well, that was the best session for England in the day. Up until tea, what was it, 131 for 4 at tea. It's pretty slow going. I know it's not easy to score quickly. Slow outfield. But they've scored nearly 70 runs in an hour, which is untold in this series. It's been not dour, but it's been hard fought, and you haven't had a whole flood of runs in a session. Batting has not been that easy. It's partly because we're playing on big grounds, lush outfields and wickets that just do a little bit, that don't quite come onto the bat too quickly. So that's a terrific session for England. And I think West Indies, I think they got it a bit muddled up. I would have thought that at this stage they would have probably had a spinner and a seamer together. So because they kept going with Holder and Roach for so long, it means now that for 15 overs he's brought Cornwall back when the batsmen have played themselves in nicely, and they're comfortable now, and so Buttler can pop down and hit two sixes off Cornwall, perfectly harmless balls, not nasty balls. So it's quite hard for the spinner to make an impact when the batsmen have settled and they're feeling confident. But Pope has been terrific. He's the one who's batted with fluency in a series where we haven't seen much fluency, actually. And certainly in a day, I mean, all the others, even Stokes didn't really set off at any pace. Burns was Burns, but suddenly batting looks quite straightforward. We started to hit boundaries. So Pope, it's a good day for Pope, a good day for the selectors, who probably didn't really think very hard about leaving him out as opposed to Zach Crawley, but they would have discussed that, I guess. And there they'll tell us, quite rightly, how wise they were.
Shown a lot of promise, hasn't he, Ollie Pope, early on in his career?
I mean, he does get more leeway because he just looks at business, doesn't he?
Yeah, he does. A reminder that if you've missed any of today's action, you can watch video clips now on the BBC Sport website, and Today at the Test is on BBC Two tonight at 7 p.m. or available to watch on iPlayer. The West Indies players now dispersing. I've just seen the bowlers just do a few stretches, getting ready for that new ball in about 10 overs time or so. Happy baby is what Kemar Roach was doing. Do you know?
No.
Do you like a bit of yoga?
No. Well, I mean, I might do, but I don't. Could you give me a quick demonstration?
No,
I know this is radio.
not with a skirt.
Oh, really?
Andy?
Well, the mind boggles. OK, it's more of a television thing, perhaps.
A few words from you, Andy, and then...
Oh, that's what it... Oh, no, sorry, I'm only joking.
Basically, you're on your back and your legs are up in the air.
Okay.
Aggers will come in.
Thank you. Aggers coming quickly, as quickly as you can.
To highlight England's acceleration.
Thank you, Andy.
They moved from 150 to 200, which came with that second Buttler 6 in just 8.2 overs. The first 50 took 22 overs, the second 50 took 17.2, and the third 20.2. So the fourth at 8.2, more than twice as fast as any of the previous three 50 brackets in this innings.
Well, and at the moment, it's looking quite healthy for England, suddenly, having struggled most of the day. So it's a big hour, that.
Indeed, 205 for 4. Hello, Victor. 10 overs to that new ball. Holder's on his way, and is bowling to Buttler, who plays across the pad, pushing the leg side, going for a quick single. They'll make it as well. As it's picked up there, one-handed by the fielder at mid-wicket. So 206 for 4. Buttler 31. Pope 64. I remember Eleanor Oldroyd asking me yesterday on our 5 Live preview.
You did? He said he wanted to see
What would you
Pope.
like to see out of this match? I said, I want to see Ollie Pope get a score. I love watching him
Well,
bat.
you must be a happy man.
I'm a very happy man. He's just such a natural player, isn't he?
Yeah, no, I mean, he plays one or two shots that take the breath away. He pulled Gabriel, albeit it was quite a slow pitch, off the front foot.
Yeah.
Ponting used to do that.
Holder, Bolström, and he's forward now, playing up to mid-off. The ball rolls along the ground for Roach to bend and pick up. No run.
And then suddenly he plays, well, not suddenly, when the ball's in the right slot, he just plays one of those cover drives that make you think, hang on, that's quite special.
Yeah, and he's got the ramp shots. He's a real modern Test batsman. It's all built on a traditional founding of the defence. It's beautiful balance. Holder, Bolström is forward driving. Now is Roach going to get there? No, it's a beautiful off drive. Goes just past Roach's left hand. He's pursuing the ball to the boundary, and they'll come back for 3. And nothing more than just a push, really, and perfect placement. 209 for 4. The floodlights are on. We've got a bit of dark cloud around. Still, it's an hour and About an hour and 7 minutes of play left today.
Not much follow through there. It really was just a beautiful tapped
Yeah.
off drive, opening the face a fraction to beat the field.
Boulder gallops in, bowls to Butler. It's his turn to drive. This time he hits it straight at Chase, who's fielding at extra cover. 209 for 4. Slight grumble is that there's, an hour and 7 minutes. There's 19 overs to go after this, and Cornwall's bowled 16 overs today, and Chase bowled a couple, but Holder's crawling back to his...
I mean, that is a mystery, actually, that Chase has bowled 2 overs, 1 for 2.
Yes.
I mean, he's quite a good bowler, Chase. I don't understand why he hasn't been used more.
He's standing at extra cover at the moment. Holder stretches out. There's very long strides and bowls wide of the off stump. Swinging a little wider. Butler has nothing to do with it. Breeze ever so gently tugging at the flags. There's 4 of them in the distance. 2 on very tall poles on top of the pavilion here. And the Lancashire flag, red rose, fluttering away next to the point, which dominates that far end of the ground to the left. This huge corporate building. It's sadly, of course, deserted today. Holder runs up, bowls, punched away for a single, taking on Roach, and make that quite easily, actually. Butler there picked the man. Roach fairly deep. 210 for 4. Apparently in there they've got set up a sort of golf range and all sorts of things for the players to go and...
Where?
In there. It's like a sort of a kids club, but you might have when you went on holiday with your youngsters.
Oh, really? It is amazing. Now you can hit golf. Not that I've. You can hit golf balls on, and you can see exactly where they go in sort of video, or you can play some of the great courses. You can play at St Andrews or whatever.
No, I think they've got that there.
Oh, right.
Because I think you can walk. If you look at the walkways, you can actually go from the hotel through a glass walkway that takes you to the pavilion.
Oh, I see, yes.
You go around the back to another glass walkway that connects you to the point.
Yeah, I got it from the third floor of the hotel.
So for the inner bubble, it's an access to the point.
We're in the inner bubble as opposed to the inner bubble, is that
Yes.
Right. And my writing colleagues are in the outer bubble.
They are, yes. Which isn't really much of a bubble, I don't think, is it? They're allowed in.
Well, they can go to the pub anywhere they like in Manchester, in Lancashire, I think.
Yes.
Yeah.
But they can't come near anybody who's in the inner bubble.
I did wave to one of them this morning. Is that all right? Am I allowed to do that?
I think it depends what sort of range.
I was about 15 yards away.
I think it's all right. Chase bowls, and that's driven hard up to cover. And there's no run. Chase back into the attack then. From the far end, he did take the wicket of Burns. Splendidly caught by Cornwall there at slip. He's crouching now as the next one is turned away into the leg side, and Pope not interested in the run there. Butler was initially. Cornwall's now got 2 caps on his head, one rather comically perched on top of the other.
Well, you're not allowed, of course, to give your caps to the umpire.
No.
So he's probably got Chase's cap on.
But think of the size, I don't know what the head size of Cornwall is. Butler forwards, playing into the leg side. I mean, there's no one else's cap is going to come close to sitting on his head properly, I don't think. So this is this perched on there, a good gust of wind and it would blow off. 210 for 4. England scoring just under 3 now, as they have lifted the rate a little bit. As that's down the leg side, of Durrage doesn't take it cleanly again. I'm a poor fellow. He's just having, I'm afraid, an awful day behind the stumps. He's just dropped everything.
I know, and he
hasn't dropped any catches.
He seemed pretty puckered in the first Test match.
Yeah. Chase bowling his off spin. That's turned away to Roach. Backward square leg. A cry of no, almost in unison there from the 2 batsmen. 210 for 4. 1 ball to go in this 72nd over. About an hour of play left today. And as Butler goes back to a ball that just straightens a little on him. It was short. Pushed out to cover. And there's no run. 210 for 4. 8 overs to the new ball. Butler 32. Pope has 67. And ought to do a little run through of the wickets today, really. Sibley out in the first over for naught. LBW to Roach. Root was then run out. So the second time in successive innings. It was a funny one, a direct hit from Chase, actually, that just trimmed the bail.
I don't think that's how Joe Root will describe it. That's a funny one.
Well, it was a funny one, wasn't it? Because you saw the wicketkeeper go to break the stumps, but actually what no one could see, apart from I think probably Darrich, was that the bail had just been removed, and so Root was on his way. 17. That's 47 for 2, and then Stokes was bowled by Roach, a ball that did cut back at him for 20. That was 92 for 3. Cornwall's bowling, and that's just pushed back at him, and there's no run. So he was bowled for 20 by Roach, and then Burns, as described, was beautifully caught one-handed by Cornwall at slip off Chase for 57. Cornwall again bowls and is down the pitch at him, clipping it away for a single down the ground. Too long on. 211 for 4 in the 73rd over. This is the first time Cornwall's bowled from this end. It feels like it. We haven't seen his back view before.
No.
Towering over the umpire. He's 6'7". At the last estimation, 22 stone. He's an enormous man. He bowls off about 2 paces. Oh, and he's appeal for leg before wicket. Has he got a wicket? Well, the umpire says no. It's spinning down the leg side, I think. But Butler did get quite a long way across there. They're not going to review it. It did turn quite sharply.
Yeah. And he was on the back foot, but they obviously don't think it's worth a review, and they usually get it right nowadays. Although Darrich is having such a nightmare, he might not be the best judge.
No. Cornwall again, wearing 93. Tosses that one up again, some slow turn. And Butler plays the ball into the leg side. Let's have a look at the replay of that LBW. They're showing us now. I think he did turn.
I think he might have hit it. I think he was out if he hit it.
Yeah, I think he probably did hit it. Cornwall again bowls, and back goes Butler. And Cornwall leans down, picks the ball up.
He needed to hit it, actually.
Edge, there it is. So all telling, jaggedy mark. Otherwise, yes, I think he was out. Cornwall bowls the lower arm. I haven't seen him bowl that one. Almost like an arm ball that found the outside edge too. And a run taken down to short third man. That's the end of the over. Definite variation there from Cornwall, who hasn't taken a wicket yet from his 17 overs. 212 for 4. Now apparently, I'm reading this for the first time, as a new feature on the BBC Sport website where you can vote for your play of the day. The options so far are the Root run out, Cornwall's catch, and Ollie Pope bringing up his 50 with a cover drive for 4. So you go to the cricket section on the BBC Sport website and you can see a tab that says vote, and the result is then revealed on the highlights tonight on BBC 2 from 7 o'clock.
Best hurry up then.
I think they call it interactivity, Victor.
I'm having a trouble with my project screen at the moment. That's interactivity. No, you know, in the bit you have to sign every day to say I'm healthy.
Oh, medical, yes. Yeah. Thing comes Chase and bowls, the ball turns slowly into Butler, who's on the back foot, cracking the other way to mid-on.
But I think I'd manage to vote if necessary, but I may not have time.
You won't get access to... You might not be allowed to your room if you don't do your medical properly. The screening process you've got to go through. It's Chase, and that's nudged away into the leg side. Butler thinks about a single, but down there very quickly is Shea Hope. 212 for 4. Chase again, shaven-headed, bearded, bowls, and that's turned into the leg side. Oh, they're going for a quick single there. And I think Butler's needed a little bit of persuasion there from Pope, who was coming down, and there's sort of raised hands there of apologies in both directions.
Well, there was one there if they went properly, and they did in the end.
Yep.
They've been sort of tickling that ball on the square on the leg side. There's no back pad, so there's a bit of space there.
Chase shuffles in, bowls, and that's turned around the corner. This time a definite cry of no as the ball went straight to Roach. Looking there at backwards square leg. Twiddle of the bat. And Pope's ready again. Chase swings his hands like Harbhajan used to do, and now he's down the pitch, and he immediately Pope there looks skywards because that was clipped in the air just past Holder's left hand on that drive position in the onside, and Pope knew he'd just misjudged that a bit and is playing the shot again, which I think would have sent the ball a bit straighter. Didn't quite get that right.
No, misjudged the length of fraction.
Chase again, bowls, a thick outside edge, they'll scurry a single there, and to backward point. 215 for 4. End of another over. Butler 35. Pope has 69. They came together at 122 for 4. So homing in on their 100 partnership. I can see Joe Root on the screen. He looks more like Kirk Douglas every time I see Joe Root with a long mane of hair. You know, in those very early Kirk Douglas films when he had a lot of hair. It wasn't the Viking film, and it's sort of young Viking, and I always used to rather admire him because he used to leap onto a bareback horse from quite long range. I've often wondered how he did it. But he had a mane of golden hair.
And he looked like Joe Root.
Well, I thought that, there's a similarity at the moment because Root's got a lot of hair. And goes Cornwall, bowls, and that's pushed away to his left hand. And there's no run. I think it's only too wrong with being likened to Kirk Douglas, Victor. I know you can't hear me, that's why I'm saying it. In goes Cornwall, over the wicket, bowls, short of a length. Turned into his right hand this time. And there's no run. You wouldn't mind being likened to Kirk Douglas?
Nah, I'd like that. Michael Douglas would be nice as well.
Well, okay.
Actually, I can... let's leave it there.
Okay. Cornwall again, towering over the umpire. It's driven by Butler to cover. Fielded by Campbell. The umpire just looks tiny, doesn't he?
Yeah, Richard Kettlebrook.
Yeah, he's just utterly dwarfed. Cornwall bowls just beside him. Clipped away hard, nicely saved there. Close in the onside by Hope. Cornwall still looking for his first wicket. Almost had one in the previous over. Butler spared by an inside edge. He moves in and tosses that up, and Butler drives him, but doesn't really get that out of the middle of the bat, and Roach is able to field it mid-off. 215 for 4. 15 overs remain after this delivery. But there is a new ball due shortly. This next one's tossed up, turned away into the onside, where Hope fields is the end of the over. 215 for 4. 5 overs till that new ball. Butler 35, Pope 69. These two really lifted it and just pushed England along nicely.
Yeah, I mean, I think in terms of Ollie Pope, don't want to big him up too soon, but I will do it. I think we might be looking at a special player in time. He just looks like he's got that gift of playing the game so naturally. Charles Butler's doing the work, he's doing the hard yards to try and just give him that platform to go and get a big score. He's played a real nice anchor role. I have to say, though, I guess, from a West Indian perspective, I think they've been awful in this session. Everything about their play.
Chase bowling, starting a new over, turned to square leg.
I don't know what was said at tea. They were right in the contest at tea time. 4 wickets down England. You're thinking, come out after tea, get your tactics right. They delayed the spinner for too long.
Chase trots in and bowls and hits Pope on the pad.
And then they were hit both sides of the wicket by the seamers, and he kept them on. And I have to say, the keeper, Shane Dowd, he's just had one of those days. I don't know if he's got a sore hand, but there's nothing. So, and the platform that the keeper gives the team.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, he's the engine.
Pope forward. Yeah, he is. And if you see the keeper dropping everything.
Well, he has dropped everything.
Yes, he has, yeah.
You know, it's not drop catches from the outside edge. I dread to think what's going to happen when there is an outside edge.
He just seems to have lost his confidence completely. Chase over the wicket. Bowls, and that's one that's going down the leg side. It is predominantly going to the leg side where he drops, where he has got an injured left hand. Whether he's got a sore finger or something.
But if it's so bad, give Shea Hope the gloves.
Yeah, absolutely. Cornwall still got 2 caps on his head. Chase shuffles up and bowls. Oh, slicing stroke there from Pope. Gets the ball out to deep point.
I used to thought earlier in the day that the West Indies, I just think they've had one of those days, and the captain, Jason Holder, you can very rarely criticise him, but I don't think he's had a good day at all as a captain. Roston Chase got 5 wickets here last week. He didn't bowl an over till the 46th over of the day.
They got a wicket and took him off. Here he comes once more and bowls. Oh, catch it, they shout, but he's absolutely middled that. And Buttler picks up 4 through extra cover. It was in the air, but it went past the man there like a rifle shot. And now it's a long chase for the fielder to go and get it, and inevitably it's poor old Shannon Gabriel. It wouldn't be anyone else, would it?
But you just know as a captain, when you've got a player like Buttler who's, I don't know, in his own mind, if he's out of form. I like his new movement with his front foot. You know, that left foot's just opened up a little bit more so, which allows him more access to that full of length delivery to the seamer. If you look about a couple of his dismissals, he closed off with that front foot. It's been going over to the offside. He's been losing balance. Well, he's just opened that front foot to give himself a bit more balance, which has been excellent. But you know, with a player, it's so much harder to get set against spin. And by the time Raheem came on, Buttler was in. He just whacked him into the point a couple of times.
Yeah. 2:20 for 4 overs to go until the new ball. And Cornwall starts a new over, floating up. Oh, it says Peel's leg before wicket against Pope. It is a good shout, that one. He wasn't actually, for him, unusually, he wasn't very well balanced. He adjusted after the ball hit him. And I think they will review this. Yes, they are going to do so. It was given not out by the umpire. Pope
Player
went
review
forward
for LBW.
and then was
The
off
original
balance.
decision is not out. If we could have a look at
You're going to
front
see
foot
from
first,
Pope's
please.
face. It's a bit nervous.
Yeah, Richard Illingworth's the third umpire.
Okay, we have a fair delivery. If we can have a look at front on spin vision, please.
Let's see if he's edged this. Don't think he did. No.
Was he's close?
Okay, it doesn't appear to be any bat there, but can we have a look at the ultra edge, please?
Just flick the front pad.
Okay, we've got a flat line, ball going past the inside edge. Still a flat line, roll it all the way into the pad. Okay, we can move on to ball tracking when ready.
So here we go. Given not out. Let's see where this one's going.
Okay,
Impact
we've got
in line.
pitching outside off, impact in line,
Oh.
and missing the stumps.
Well.
So we can go back to Richard on
That's
field.
a ball that apparently is pitched some way outside the off
shows you
stump. There's
original
missing
decision.
leg.
Richard, you're on screen now.
That's a big spinner, that one.
Well, yeah, it's the Hawkeye had that hitting that front pad and then going straight down the leg side.
Well, to be fair, Dowrich was moving in that direction. So anyway, they lose a review. And Cornwall continues, tossing that up. He's clipped away down to long on.
You can sometimes tell from the batsman. Ollie Pope had an LBW reviewed off Shannon Gabriel about an hour ago, and straight away you could see from his face that he was confident it was too high. On this occasion he was nervous. You can just tell as a batsman. You say he lost his balance.
Yeah.
And he was worried about that one.
Cornwall bowls turned away into the leg side. They go for a single. That's perfect power on that, allowing the run to come through. But little things, you know, I'm about to go now, but we talked about Jason Holder. Poor old Gabriel today, he's twanged a hamstring. He's come on and off and on and off, and he's given everything. But the amount of times he's found himself in positions in the field where he's had to run round after the ball. There's Pope coming forward. And that one, why didn't someone say, hang on, Archangel, I'll go and get that. You know, you're bowling your boots off. Don't go running all the way to the boundary to go and pick that up. I'll go and do it, you know. It's just a bit of thought, isn't it?
Well,
It's Cornwall over the wicket, bowls, and it's pushed back at him. The 100 partnership has come up, by the way.
I've got a feeling you might invite Shannon Gabriel around for dinner one day. Just
Full of admiration.
yeah, you'd have him in your garden, wouldn't you, down the
Love it.
Beaver?
Love him.
Beaver, yeah.
He gives absolutely. I mean, he's unsubtle. There's the next one clipped away down to long on. You know, he just runs in and bowls fast for you all day. I just think they all need to look after him a bit more out there in the field. That's all, because he's often the man exposed, and so having to go and fetch that. He'll be called upon in a minute. He'll get the second new ball. He's loosening up down there.
Old-fashioned
There he
loosener,
goes, bless
that,
him.
isn't it? The
I know,
hips
he's
are
off
going.
again. 2:23 for 4. Then some thoughts from Michael, and then Dan Norcross is coming in here.
Yeah, that second new ball due in 3 overs. Again, that second test match here just a few days ago. The West Indies didn't take it, surely. They're going to take it straight away this evening. They've got to get back in the contest. Jason Holder's just strolling off the pitch now. just below us. Not too sure what's wrong with Jason. There's been quite a lot of toing and froing today. I've got a funny feeling we might be talking about this session, Dan, in a couple of days. Was a session that the game just went away from the West Indies. When you've won the toss and decided to bowl, when you do that, you generally have to bowl the opposing team out on day one. And Ollie Pope in particular has just grabbed the game and taken it away from the West Indies.
Chase starts a new over from the Anderson end. Clipped into the onside by Pope. They go through for a very quick single, but they make it, and that's what has been a hallmark of his innings today. Pope, he's never got stuck. I mean, what's the most number of dot balls in a row that Pope has faced in this innings, Andy? Because it feels to me that he's never really got stuck, has he, in the way that, say, Sibley got stuck or other players have done. He's been busy. He's got off strike, he's rotated the strike. Buttler back on strike now. Chase bowls. Clipped away fine this time. A little leg glance going to bring Buttler and England another couple of runs and take them up to 226 for 4. Buttler 42, Pope 73. The new ball due very shortly. It has been England's session so far. Wasn't a great first hour after tea, and it hasn't got an awful lot better since. A very tight LBW decision. A moment to go as Chase is again worked to short backward square leg where Roach does the fielding, no run.
Well, where they've been good as well, they're so quick between the wickets. I think these two have realised the West Indies have not been quite on it, and they've probably had a conversation. Come on, let's run them ragged. Let's make the most of this.
Here is Chase again. Buttler works this into the onside once more, but he can't beat the fielder. No run. That non-LBW was an example of just how difficult it is these days for an off-spinner to get a right-hander out, because it looked out, didn't it? As Chase bowls once more. It's again played to Roach. Backward square leg. And it hit him just in line that was going down. If he adjusts the line a little bit further outside of stump, the danger is that the batsman's then outside the line on impact. So it's very difficult to get those LBWs unless the batsman's on the back foot. Driven firmly by Buttler all the way up to the deep extra cover boundary. I think it's going to get there. It's a very long part of the ground, and it does. It thuds into the sponge. And that takes Buttler to 46 at the end of the over. England 230 for 4. Pope going well. Buttler going well. Buttler on 46. Pope on 73.
8 dot balls is the most consecutive dot balls Pope has faced in this innings.
Yeah,
That feels quite significant to me.
Yeah, he's played great, but look at that fielding there, Dan. Craig Brathwaite,
Yeah,
you just
straight
bowled a
through.
half decent over, you get a half volley, hits it quite, it just goes straight under him at extra cover. The West Indies for the first session this morning, they looked like the West Indies from the first session. You know, when they were on it, they were buzzing. Second session, they were all right, they were kind of on top in a way. In this session, they've been so poor. Don't know what they had for the tea.
Well, all
Those pies we had at the back were lovely.
the mini ones, crikey, yeah. The 4 wickets they've taken were all really good quality cricket in their different ways, as Cornwall starts a new over, and that's deftly played by Pope. Just a little fine dab down to the fine leg boundary. It's being pursued, and oh dear, and it's not been dragged back by a rather lazy hoof, really. There was it's getting towards the end of a long day, but that is Channon Gabriel. I say lazy, exhausted probably, as he ran down to fine leg boundary. He didn't put the dive in. He went for the little back flick with the ball very close to the boundary and has missed it. Yes, there's not a career in football for him, I don't think, as Pope moves to 77 with that. It was a nice shot. Managed to find that gap very fine on the leg side down to the boundary, and he advances to the next delivery and defends back to the bowler. And there is no run. There's a slip in, and it can't be Cornwall because Cornwall is bowling. So it's a rare sight today not to see Cornwall at first slip. He's in again, 3 or 4 paces, and that's nicely worked, but straight to Roston Chase at mid-wicket. It's a lovely crisp sound coming from Ollie Pope's bat today. 234 for 4, England. Pope on 77, Cornwall in. And Pope waits for this, dabs it into the onside, and Chase has to make ground to his right, and that gives them time to get through for another single. He moves to 78. 235 for 4. At the end of this over, Michael, I want your opinion on the career of a retiring club man. I'm going to tell you, I'm going to give you his stats. He may not be a household name, but perhaps he should be, which is why I'm going to give him his due on Test Match Special today. Cornwall in, worked to get into the onside. Pope thought about the single. It's not there this time. Chase quick to the ball. Butler on 46, laying up another half century. Pope 78. There's a wasp flies into the pane of glass in front of me. Dabbed into the offside again. This time they're thinking about 2, but they won't get that as Campbell runs to his left to field. End of the over. Butler will keep strike. He has 47. England 236 for 4. Pope has 78. Yes, now, I want to give you the details of a man who I think deserves to be a legend. Born, I've been told, on the 14th of September 1949. He made his club debut for Hurstpierpoint Cricket Club on the 12th of July 1970. And he played his very final game last week. Club cricket only having just come back, but he's wanted to play one last game so that he could play in 50 consecutive years. Right? And he's batted. His name is Dave Parsons. Shout out to Dave Parsons. Now then, Dave Parsons has batted 834 times in his Hurstpierpoint career, with 157 not outs, 25,012 runs, 150 scores of between 50 and 100 as Chase bowls and is defended back up the wicket and there's no run, and a further 12 hundreds at an average of 36.94, highest score 122 not out, but it gets in many ways better. As Chase is in to Butler. Butler plays his nice, a little late cut down to backward point, deep backward point for a single. Moves to 48, 237.
Sorry, how old is he again? He plays 50.
He's 70. He's 70. He's going to be 71 in September.
Okay. Yep.
And he was captain last week in his only game of the season and final game of his career. His 900 and somethingth game. I'll come to that in a minute. Pope advances, clips the ball to Campbell at mid-wicket. There's no run. He's bowled 6,059.4 overs. And he's taken 1,331 wickets, 54 fifers, best figures 9 for 24. As Chase is in again. So Pope comes down the wicket, drives beautifully through mid-off, long off, all the way up to the boundary for 4. He used his feet, advanced on it. He's not allowing Roston Chase to settle at all. And he moves up to 82 and England to 241 for 4. He averages 13.54 with the ball. 36.94 with the bat. The leading wicket taker and the leading run scorer for his club and the leading half-century maker. He's been everything, this man. As Chase is in again to Pope, who pushes into the offside square of the wicket for a single. There's a big gap there, and he can get that as easy as you like. He's seeing the ball really well. And there's one ball left in the 80th over, and then the new ball will become available. Pope to 83, England 242 for 4. He's been secretary, chairman, first 11 captain, Sunday captain, groundsman, bar manager, pavilion manager, and league rep. Not bad. Chase in to complete the over, and Butler just defends back up the wicket. And it's fielded by Campbell, who moves a couple of paces to his left. End of the over, end of the 80th over, 242 for 4, Butler 48. Pope 83. So if I can coin a phrase, remember the name, Dave Parsons. He's been involved in the highest opening partnership in the club history of 259, the highest 7th wicket partnership. He's done the lot, Dave Parsons, and last week he played his last game at the age of 70. His last game was his 928th game. Didn't go awfully well for him. He bowled a 2-over spell. And he did get one final wicket, a stumping.
Well, I'd have to say to Dave, I mean, rather selfish. He's still got his best years ahead of him. I mean, what's he retiring for? Got to carry on, haven't you?
Well, you'd think, wouldn't you? Yeah. Well, I'll tell you who else is carrying on. It's Raheem Cornwall is carrying on, despite the availability of the new ball, and the first delivery with that is pushed to the substitute fielder.
Well, that's just 50 years of experience thrown away. Could have done another 20. Best years ahead of him.
Cornwall in. Worked into the onside by Pope. He'll get another single for it as Chase goes to gather from mid-wicket. Stops with his boot. Moves to 84. 243 for 4.
I mean, Dan, again, we're into the 81st over. The West Indies desperately need wickets. They've not taken the second new ball.
Isn't that odd?
I just don't. They did it last week. I just don't understand the theory.
Well, there's plenty of... I mean, the thing is that they've got good time with it as well, haven't they? They've got 40 minutes, really, to be bowling with it. Again, worked into the onside. There's a big gap there, square at the wicket, and Buttler can pick up another run, boost to 49. At the moment, England are cruising here, and they're not really being troubled. How many runs have we had off the last 5 overs?
28.
Without really alarms. Notwithstanding that appeal and referral, I suppose, that all turns back into Pope, who is a little tangled up, but he's a long way forward and there's no danger of him being LBW. Cornwall's turning it enough to beat that leg stump, as we've seen already. There's a slip in, and there's a slightly tricksy mid-on, short mid-on, really. He's Bonner, down the wicket comes Pope, defends to that man. It's directed as the ball's flung back to poor old Dowrich, who probably was grateful for the stumps being in the way, because he's had a tough day today with the gloves. Ball's been bouncing off his gloves. I suppose it could be holders off the field. So that could be the reasoning behind it, waiting for the captain to come back on. As Pope faces up, comes fully forward, stretching out into the offside to push it into the offside. There's no run. Commentary continues on 5 Live Sports Extra, digital radio, online and via the BBC Sounds app. But Radio 4 longwave listeners are leaving us briefly for the shipping forecast. With England on 244 for 4 at the end of the over. Buttler 49 from 99 balls, Pope 84 from 135. These two have doubled the score. They came together at 122. It's now 244. And well, Roston Chase is continuing, and Holder has come back onto the field. So, well,
it's just a sign of a bowling attack that's played 3 Test matches on the trot.
But they chose to bowl.
Yeah, exactly. So it's their own kind of wrongdoing. Got to take the second new ball.
Chase is into Buttler on the threshold of a half century. Works it into the onside. He wanted the single, but sent back by Pope. The throw comes in from Shea Hope, moves from mid-wicket to the right to field. Is this a function of Gabriel being, frankly, a bit tired? He's bowled a lot of overs in the series and they don't want to take the new ball tonight. But, I mean, are they going to really go through till the end of the day without taking the new ball?
It's going to give England another 40 runs if they don't.
Chase in, down the leg side, left alone by Buttler, and let's allow that to turn into the gloves of Dowrich, who did well actually to move to his left and collect that.
Yeah, and the second new ball might travel in terms of runs, but there's so much more of an opportunity to take 2 or 3 wickets, get back in the Test match.
Absolutely, as Chase is in, and that's worked into the onside, fielded by Roach at short backward square leg. Yeah, I mean, let's be clear, if they do pick up 2 quick wickets, England at 244 for 6 have got the bowlers will start to be exposed soon, so they're still very much in the game, but they've got to break this partnership as Chase is in. Butler just props forward, defends into the onside.
It's been a disappointment for me, Dan, with the West Indies in this session, is that they're 1 away from Chris Wokes.
Yeah.
2 away from Don Best, and then it's Jofra Archer, Stuart Broad and Jimmy Anderson.
You'd think they'd fancy that. Chase in, driven nicely by Buttler. That'll be his 50. It goes up towards deep extra cover. They'll come back for 2. They'll think about a third. Fielder no. They decide against the third as the ball is retrieved. Deep extra cover, and that is a half century for Jos Buttler. He moves to 51 with that, raises his bat, comes to punch gloves with Ollie Pope. They've been together since the fall of the 4th wicket, which was when Rory Burns was cutting at the ball, caught brilliantly by Rakeem Cornwall. England at the time were in all sorts of trouble at 122 for 4. Now, they're not in a dominant position, but they're in quite a strong one at 246 for 4. Chases into Buttler. Buttler just defends from the crease. That's the end of the over. 82 have been bowled, still no sign of the new ball. Buttler 51, Pope 84. Andy.
Butler's half century came from 104 balls, 2 sixes, 4 fours. It is his 17th score of 50 or more in Test cricket. Only 100 amongst those scores, and only his second 50 in his last 24 innings in 13 Tests, going back to the start of last summer's Ashes series.
Well, now the new ball is being brought onto the field as we welcome back Radio 4 long wave listeners with the news that England are now 246 for 4. Pope and Butler going well. A new ball has been delivered. It hadn't been delivered before. What's the situation with that, Michael? Do they bring out the new ball only when the captain calls for it? Or?
Yeah, I think rather than just keeping it in the umpire's pocket, I'm not too sure whether that's a rule or not. I think, I think category, they basically put it in the pocket, don't they? And then once it's called for, they pull it out and then they throw the old one off.
Yep.
Over the ropes. Maybe it's tested. I've not really studied that, Dan, to be honest.
Well, they've taken it. It's been shown to the scorers at any rate, not to the non-existent crowd. And Kemar Roach is going to take it, and this, you feel, could be a very important 33 minutes here for both England and the West Indies in the context of this series. They really do need to make some breakthroughs here. Pope's on strike on 84. His faces up to Kemar Roach with 2 slips and a gully. And that played off the inside edge of the bat, came forward to a full ball. He's going to pick up a single as a substitute, and Nkrumah Bonner runs to his right to retrieve the ball, and Pope moves to 85.
Generally always bowls a tremendous length. This is the first ball, the second new ball, and it's right on the money there from Kemar Roach. And he looks the one West Indian bowler that could get 2 or 3 quick ones. If he gets it right in the next half an hour, he could easily knock over 2 or 3.
Well, I think they'll need him to, in a way. I mean, if England get through to the close only 4 down, they'll be in a pretty strong position whenever we next get back out onto the field of play. Roach in, and that's dabbed into the offside. Slightly angled bat played late by Butler into the gully region. And Hope retrieves. There's no run. 247 for 4.
What's the review situation, Andy? Where we're at? Are we? West Indies got
one, haven't they?
West Indies have one
left.
review remaining. England have not used any.
Only one. It's quite precarious now, isn't it? Especially for the off spinner, tend to find, because they can be pretty marginal, those calls, as Roach is in to Butler, who drives thick edge through the 3rd slip region down to the boundary for 4. A bit of good fortune there. It's sped away at very catchable height, but there are only 2 slips in. There's a deep point, Michael. They've taken the new ball and there's a deep point. I mean, I know it's easy to be wise after the event. It's my favourite pastime, in actual fact. But the 250 comes up with that. But that would have gone straight to 3rd slip, and it has flown down to the boundary for 4. And Butler's got away with that.
Well, it's because the session that the West Indies have had, they've taken the second new ball and they can't over-attack. There's 2 slips and a gully, cover point on the boundary, square leg on the boundary, fine leg back. There's an extra cover, a mid-off and mid-on. You know, if you're fully on the attack, you have your cover point up and you have your extra cover into that 3rd slip region.
Roach comes in again, and Butler push drives to the left of mid-on, who does well, Bonner, to field that. Moving to his left, there's no run. There are actually 3 England teams in action at the moment. Down at the AGS Bowl, there's an inter-squad match featuring the ODI training squad, who are preparing for the Ireland ODIs. Team Moeen Ali are taking on Team Vince. Team Vince. It's been dramatic. Moeen's team all out for 109. Come back to it in a minute as Roach is in to Butler, who just props forward in defence and pushes it up to chase at mid-off. There's no run. Team Vince lost wickets to the first 2 balls of the innings, with David Willey dismissing Ben Duckett and Sam Billings. But Tom Banton is going well. Somerset fans will be delighted to hear. Well, fans of prodigiously talented young white ball cricketers will be as well. And he's approaching his 50.
Yeah, he's a good player. He's got all the tricks.
You like him, don't you? Roach into Butler, down the leg side, worked away nicely with good timing out to deep square leg. There is a man out there, and there will only be the 1 run as Blackwood tidies up. That is the end of the 83rd over. England 252 for 4, Butler 56 from 110, Pope 85 from 136. It's all a little too easy for England at the moment. The West Indies, who played terrifically well in the first session and a half, maybe 2 sessions. England went into tea at 132 for 4. They're now 252 for 4. They've nearly doubled their score in those 2 hours since the tea break. More thoughts from Michael Vaughan, and then returning resplendent in his blue polo shirt, it's going to be Simon Mann.
Yeah, and it's going to be Shannon Gabriel to partner Kemar Roach. Can he bowl one of those spells? We've seen it over the years. We've seen it against England. We saw it in Southampton a couple of weeks ago. The West Indies desperately need a burst of energy, a bit of magic. Simon's struggling to get his headsets on. He's he's there.
There we go.
There we go. And I'm going, Simon.
All right.
Because of you. Ta-ra.
See you later. Line them up for me on the bar. 2:52 for 4. 7 overs left in the day's play, or 27 minutes. Outside the off stump from Shannon Gabriel. No stroke from Jos Buttler. And it's through to Shane Dowrich, who, it's fair to say, has not had one of his better days behind the stumps. Lots of byes conceded, lots of drops. And West Indies under pressure. It feels as if the game is getting away from them. They do need this new ball to work. But they've got one bowler's had a hard day out there. Shannon Gabriel, a lot of work in the field. He's had this problem with his leg. Back-to-back test matches as well. And same with Kemar Roach. So they need to find some inspiration from somewhere. He's there to hold on to England's coattails here. Buttler and Pope playing well. Buttler on 56. Gabriel goes in, bowls to him outside the off stump. Buttler lets it go. Buttler in that previous over could so easily have given a catch, but not enough close catches at home. It was a straightforward edge, but it flew between gully and slip down into the third man boundary. How often does that sort of thing happen when it's going for you? And it's going for England. And these two have put the pressure back on West Indies, especially Ollie Pope initially. One of the most fluent innings of the series. The fastest conventional 50 of the series. I'm not quite counting Stokes' in that second innings, the last test match, with unconventional circumstances. This is Gabriel bowling to Buttler, quite close to off stump. Buttler lifts the bat and lets it go through to Dowrich. The lights are on. The light, though, the natural light is reasonable at the moment, and we should go through to 6:30. Gabriel walking very slowly back at the Jimmy Anderson end. And Anderson another chance to bowl at that end during this test match. Been selected today back in the England side after being rested for the last game. And if England do get a score on the board, which it looks as if they're going to do at 2:52 for 4, they have a pretty useful attack to work away at the West Indies. Here's Gabriel bowling to Buttler, again in that channel outside the off stump. Buttler ignores it, and it's through to Dowrich. An attack of Anderson, Broad, Wokes and Archer. Never played together before, that quartet in a test match. And then Best to bowl as well, and a bit of root if necessary.
We've been talking about how Jos Buttler bats in Test cricket. This is his 17th time that he's reached 50. Took 104 balls. The 5th time that he's taken more than 100 balls to reach 50. And only 5 times has he reached 50 in fewer than 80 balls. So really throughout his Test career, he's generally played a relatively restrained game.
Well, he's reining himself in at the moment against Shannon Gabriel. He's bowling about 5th stump. Gabriel goes in and bowls to Buttler. This time he does have to play at it. He leans forward and plays it to mid-off, and there's no run. Can you look up England's that quartet of bowlers, their bowling averages in England? Is that an easy thing to dig out relatively quickly? Because it strikes me as England do have the ammunition in this test match. Ben Stokes as well, of course, but we don't think that Stokes is going to bowl in this game because of the injury, whatever it was he picked up right at the end of the last game when he pulled out in the middle of an over. He said, "Oh, I'm fine." Afterwards, in his post-match interviews, he stressed the point, but England had to change their team today because they're not anticipating him bowling in the first part of the game. Gabriel bowls outside the off stump. Buttler leaves. There was a lot of bowling there, not really threatening Jos Buttler, not making him play. Gabriel comes to the end of another over. He's bowled 17.2 today. The reason for that is because he went off early. He thought, oh no, for West Indies, very early on today, but he came back. He looks like he had a leg injury, but they somehow sorted him out. He's run in. And he bowled a very good spell just before lunch when he came back as well. But Roach has been the pick of the West Indies bowlers today. He castled Ben Stokes after hitting him on the head, and pitched one up later in the over and nicked one back. Stokes bowled for 20, his lowest score of the series. Root run out, brilliant piece of fielding from Chase. Marvellous catch from Cornwall to get rid of Rory Burns. Catch at slip, went very quickly, took it one-handed. Burns out for 57, and Sibley out in the first over. Out for naught. This is Roach running in, bowling to Pope. Pope is forward, squeezing that away into the offside. Goes out to John Campbell at cover.
England's bowlers at home: Archer 25 wickets in 6 tests, average 22. Chris Woakes 75 wickets in 21 home tests, average 22.9. Jimmy Anderson 371, average 23.8, and Stuart Broad 311 wickets at home, average 26.5.
This is Roach bowling to Pope. Pope lets it go.
If we look just at the last few home summers, so from the start of the 2016 English summer, Anderson's taken 105 wickets, average 16.3 at home. Broad also over 100 wickets, average 26. Woakes is averaging 20 in that time in home tests. So particularly over recent years, I mean, Anderson's bowling in England in recent years has been about as statistically effective as any bowler in home conditions in the history of Test cricket.
Yeah, I mean, it's been remarkable, especially when you consider his age. This is Roach bowling wide of the crease, short, pulled away by Pope in front of square. He'll come back for 2. West Indies have a man back on the deep square leg boundary. It's Blackwood who goes to his left and hurls the ball in. And people listening saying, well, what do those averages mean? Well, anything under 30 is pretty good in Test cricket, isn't it? And you're talking about actually bowlers who are low 20s, and that is phenomenal. Malcolm Marshall, one of the greats, his overall Test average was around about 20. And you're talking about them bowling it, taking the wickets at 22 in England. Here is Roach bowling. That's driven. Is it just short of Campbell? It is. There was interest in the slip cordon there. He went for the drive, Ollie Pope. And Campbell, on the half volley, took it. Short extra cover. Very close to the breakthrough, not quite for West Indies. Score 254 for 4 with Pope on 87. He's got just half a chance here of 100 before the close. Perhaps more than half a chance. 20 minutes to go, 13 needed.
Anderson's best 50 test sequence, he took 217 wickets at an average just under 21, and there's only 12 other bowlers in the history of Test cricket who've averaged under 21 over a 50 test period.
Pope drives again, this time scuffs it, doesn't time it at all. He's rolling up towards mid-off and there's no run. He's frustrated with himself. He plays the shot again after walking away in disgust. Yeah, I'm not going to get you to look this up or work it out because it would be phenomenal. It was a Carnavite effort for a statistician. You'd be up all night. But I wonder whether this is statistically at home England's most successful attack ever. You think you've got 4 bowlers who are 3 low 20s and 1 mid 20s. There's Roach bowling. Driven by Pope gloriously for 4. Really timed that. Came nicely into the swing of his bat. Just drifting in with the angle, and Pope with that boundary moves into the 90s, and he's given himself a chance definitely of 100 before the close of play, and he has played superbly. He's a high class Ollie Pope. A lot is expected of him. He's not had a great series, but he's come out this afternoon and in the final session and really stamped his mark on this Test match. And West Indies really feeling the heat out there. And Butler's helped as well with a half century at the other end. 258 for 4 with 5 overs or 19 minutes left in the day's play. It's going to be Gabriel to continue. 2 slips in the gully. Rather deflating second half of the day for West Indies. Gabriel rushing in, bowls to Butler. And Butler seems to have all the time in the world there to get on the front foot and defend that into the offside. Just looking at that delivery from Gabriel, it was 83 miles an hour. So Butler to 56. Pope there on 91, and he's got those 91 in good time as well. 142 balls. And England 258 for 4. Recovering from 122 for 4 slow going early on, 2.5 and over. But these two have stepped up the rate. And the boundaries have flowed in the second part of the day. Back with Shannon Gabriel. West Indies needs something. They need it quickly. Goes in, bowls a short ball. Butler is underneath it. There is a man back. Shamar Brooks at deep back with square leg, and a fine leg Roach as well. Butler not to be tempted. Carlos is here with 15 minutes or so of the day's play to go. And does it feel as if it's slipping away?
Kinda. Need a wicket for sure. But you must give credit. I think Butler and Pope batted very, very well. I was very impressed with how Pope took the pressure off Butler, and they've since matched each other in the scoring, and it's made for some good cricket. The ball can't always win. Very well played to your batters.
Gabriel looking to make something happen in these closing stages. Goes in again, bowls to Butler, nearly does there. Inside edge onto the pad, and it rolls past off stump and down into the slip cordon. Picked up by Jason Holder. Well, nearly there for Shannon Gabriel, who has really tried hard today. After a difficult start, and what looked to be a leg injury.
Yeah, kudos to him. It looked as though he pulled up. We thought that was the end of his series. But to know when to go off, get strapped up and come back out and bustle in as he did, credit must go to him, and he's putting in a real shift for West Indies.
Yeah, he's running in, there's no doubt about that. Doesn't look like a man who went off with a leg injury earlier. Goes in now to bowl to Butler, and Butler hurried into defence that time. Plays it away into the offside towards that cover. And there is no run. Spinners today, well, Chase picked up a wicket. Cornwall making his debut in England, his third test match. He got a couple to turn sharply against Rory Burns earlier. But there is something there, and I think there will be during this game. Oh, the two umpires are consulting. Surely can't be about the light, is it?
Hope not. It's been a good passage of play. The bowlers making something happen with new ball, and the batsmen flowing. It reminds me of the 2004 Champions Trophy final where no one wants to go off.
Well, they've decided the light is not good enough to continue. It's very frustrating, desperately frustrating. 15 minutes cricket left. Floodlights are on. And you look at the shadows. Okay, there's a bit of shadow out there. Anyway, that's their decision. Umpire Kettleborough and umpire Gough, they'll take a reading, and then we'll be going by that for the rest of the test match. And, well, that'll be it for the day's play. That'll be it for the day's play now, because we're into the sort of extra half an hour.
Yeah, that's frustrating. It's been a very gripping day of test cricket. It's not your 350 in a day and lots of shots, or it's not been all at 170. It's been the perfect medium. The ball won the first couple sessions. The batsmen pulled back the momentum and the advantage in the evening session. And you never know what could have happened in that 15 minutes. This test series has thrown up a lot of different scenarios, and 15 minutes could have been 3 wickets and 1 run. Could also have been a scoring rate of 5. So,
and Ollie Pope will go to bed tonight in the 90s.
He wouldn't sleep though.
It's better to be in the 90s than be in the 20s, though, isn't it, or the 30s? It's a nice way to go to bed. But I know what you mean. Is that those 9 runs tomorrow, especially when he's in as well? You know, there's a reasonable chance he could have got them tonight. But he's played superbly today.
The only challenge you find now is that tomorrow we may get to this same stage with an hour and a half to go, and you have to come off. You have to lose cricket. It's funny how the rules of the game always overshadows the game when it comes to test cricket. Is it enough rain? Is it enough light? Yeah, it's a constant reevaluation of the playing conditions, the rules. But yeah, it was a fantastic day of test cricket. It's a shame that we've lost 15 minutes, especially with the weather forecast not being the most positive for the next 4 days. But if this series can have a result in this game from cricket anywhere similar to the cricket we've had today, then it would have been a good return for international cricket, and it would be a good advert for Test cricket all over the world.
Yeah, we've had 2 really good games so far. A tight match in Southampton where, into the last couple of hours you didn't know which way that game was going to go, and then England battling for victory on the final day earlier this week. The hover cover is coming on. That will be it for the day. And these two, Pope and Butler, have doubled the score for England, more than doubled it, from 122 for 4 at the close to 258 for 4. Roach has picked up 2 for 56, so he's poised as well in the 190s, the 199s for him.
Second new ball as well. He's been looking for this 200, get that monkey off the back.
Yeah, so he's one away. Just looking at the cover coming on, the hover cover, talk about how dry this square is. A huge amount of dust coming up from the middle. The outfield is very green. It's been quite slow. And then the matting for the next Test match. Cranes are having to work hard here with another Test match coming up fairly shortly. That's going down as well to the right of the Test pitch for the last game.
Is the first Test against Pakistan here as well?
Yeah, it is, yeah. So 1 Test match here against Pakistan, and then 2 at the Ageas Bowl. That's the way they're doing it. And in between this Test series and the next one, there are 3 one-day international between England and Ireland at the Ageas Bowl. And,
would you say like London buses? You don't get one for a while, and there's too much cricket. But exciting times. I think what this summer has thrown up is a lot of opportunity. You're to find a lot of guys crossing over from Test to T20 and T20 to 50 over, and it's opened up bigger squads, and a lot of guys who have been knocking around the county circuit getting a chance to be in and around the international setup. So there's good stuff, and a silver lining amidst all the
it's great. Jonathan's coming in, but it's great to be back. I think that's the bottom line. It's great to be back after a barren 3 or 4 months. Great to be playing cricket again. You're going to be playing cricket again, Carlos. There's a lot to catch up on actually in the next few months.
I can't wait, Simon. CPL is around the corner, biggest party in sport, and they haven't held a bat for the last month, so that will be interesting.
Photograph on my screen of David Lloyd sitting on the balcony of his hotel room with a towel wrapped round him. He's got a Red for Ruth shirt on, possibly a gin and tonic, and a bag of nuts. And there he is sitting out there, surprised, I suspect, as everyone else is, about the players walking off. It wasn't their fault. These days, of course, it's entirely the umpire's decision. I don't think anyone wanted to go off. And there's batsmen who certainly didn't want to go off, and they're the ones who, let's face it, are the ones who are most at risk. I'm not sure the bowlers want to come off because they've got the new ball in their hand and they've loosened themselves up again for the umpteenth time, but the umpires say that's it, and off they go. And it's the problem is, of course, it does set the marker, it sets the precedent, doesn't it, Carlos, for the rest of the game. And if they're going to come off in that light, then with the forecast that we've got over the next few days, we might not see much cricket.
And that's what we just chatting about. You could find yourself in a situation where tomorrow with an hour and a half to go is similar light. The players are happy to play on. But the umpires have set the precedent on the first day, and you end up losing an hour and a half each day because of that.
Well, the sheets are going on. We know we'll play today, and so we'll start our review of the first day of this 3rd Test between England and West Indies at Old Trafford, where, of course, it's 1-1 in the series. Everything to play for here. West Indies trying to win the match to win a series in England for the first time since 1988. So a big match, and of course for England the opportunity to win the series. They were put into bat with no Ben Stokes able to bowl. They dropped the batsman Crawley and retained Wokes, so a little thinner in batting. And for West Indies, Cornwall was brought in place of Alsari Joseph, so an extra spinner in the West Indies side. And England closed the day, put in on 258 for 4, partnership worth 136 between Pope and Butler. That's still going on. They'll resume tomorrow, has really buoyed England after a bit of a sluggish first couple of sessions. Pope 91 not out, Butler 56 not out, and earlier on Sibley was out for naught in the first over. LBW to Roach. Root was run out for 17, a direct hit that just trimmed the bails, and he was out by a couple of feet, I guess, for 17. Stokes was bowled by Roach, a ball that cut back at him for 20. That was 92 for 3, and then 122 for 4 when Burns was brilliantly caught by Cornwall, a reflex catch, one-handed at slip off the off-spinner Chase for 57. So the new ball was taken, but only a few overs were bowled with it before the umpires decided that light wasn't good enough. The batsmen seemed rather surprised by that, and I think maybe the fielding team were as well. But anyway, that's the umpires' decision. It's entirely in their hands these days. And the first day therefore closed at 2:58 for 4 to the course of the next half hour or so. We'll get some interview reaction. I can't see who it'll be because they're out of our sight, but we'll let you know who that is going to be. And we may hear a bit of Andrew Strauss too, actually talking to me about the Red for Ruth Day, the Ruth Strauss Foundation Day that has been here at Emirates Old Trafford today. So where do we start? Let's start with Michael Vaughan, who was off his long run a bit earlier on. How do you assess today's play, Michael?
Unless light comes into play, which, having just seen the umpires take the light that we're in now, which is a glorious evening in Manchester, I think that session will have cost the West Indies the Wisden Trophy. Unless light comes into play and weather, the England side were very, very good in that session, particularly Ollie Pope. Very impressed with the way that he kind of read the situation and was busy, played some wonderful strokes. Josh Buttler playing a stable innings. I thought his front foot play in particular looked like he found his balance. He's opened that front foot up to create better balance. You go back to the toss, Jason Holder winning the toss and bowling. They had to strike today, the West Indies. Had a good first part of the day. I thought they were very, very good. They were on it. That tone was set in the first over of the day when there was a stop by Campbell at mid-wicket. Dom Sibley was kept on strike, next ball LBW. I thought, the West Indies are on it. And then the tactical side of the day for the West Indies was strange. Roston Chase, Pfeiffer in the last game, wasn't used till the 46th over. He gets a wicket, Rory Burns, so he had 2 overs, 1 for 1, and then he went missing. He wasn't bowling for a good few overs, and then after tea, you're thinking, come on, the West Indies, this is your chance. You get 2 wickets, you're 2 away from Dominic Bess.
Yes.
2 wickets away from Dominic Bess, and they just allowed that partnership to develop too quickly, and by the time the spinners came back on, Buttler and Ollie Pope were set and they capitalised. So England have been very, very good, particularly that partnership, but from a West Indian perspective, I'm sure Carlos will agree, it just didn't look right, and the foundation and the engine room, the keeper, Dowry's just had one of those days.
Poor game today.
It was hitting him in the chest, it was hitting him on his wrist, he was just dropping every single thing that came to him, and that sets a bad tone and example in the field. So I'd be very, very disappointed if I was Phil Simmons, the West Indies coach, with particularly what I saw in that last session.
The longest groundsman's hose I think I've ever seen that's being taken out there at the moment. It's enormous. How long is that? It must be at least 20 yards long that is dragging out over his shoulder. It's an amazing piece of hose. Anyway, Carlos, are you frustrated by what's happened there?
No, man, I think sometimes you need to give credit to the batsmen, but I do second what Vaughan has said. Tactically, they may have gotten it wrong. I remember being on air and they spoke about Jason Holder versus Josh Buttler, and Jason wanting to get a crack at him. That's where I gave Ollie Pope credit, because Buttler came in, he was very tentative to begin with, and Ollie Pope, got some impetus in, even ran a couple short singles, which Buttler probably mentally wasn't there for yet, but that was his way of injecting some momentum into the innings. And then it just drifted along, and Ollie Pope got into it. By the time the spin came back on, Josh Buttler was well into his stride. He'd seen off all the fast bowlers, and then he took Cornwall to the cleaners with a couple sixes. By then, the West Indies are pulling the momentum back. I would have much preferred to see one of the spinners, probably even Roston Chase, continue from one end, and you defend from one end, attack from there, and knowing that there's not much behind these two, as Vonnie mentioned, the 2 wickets away from Dominic Bess.
Woke's in next.
But that being said, I also asked for them to be a bit greedy and try to knock them over tonight. And the beauty of cricket is there's so many different plans that can be chosen on any given day, any given session, and this one backfired. So tactically, we would have to say they've gotten it wrong. But couple things, the way they started, Cornwall showed me enough on the first day that I know he can be a handful moving forward, especially in the third innings. And then taking the second new ball is not something West Indies have done in the recent past 80-81 overs, having the second new ball, weary legs, and the bowlers trying to have a proper crack at it. So I think, and the short balls. Finally, we've seen some short balls from the West Indies bowling attack. But no, there's been a lot of positives from the West Indies today, and I'd be honest and just say, hold my hand up. Well played, Ollie Pope. Well played, Jos Buttler. There's obviously things that the West Indies could have done a lot better to slow the scoring, and tactically they could have done different things that we hope would have had a different impact. But you must give credit where credit is due, and those two guys batted fantastically.
He's asked a lot of his bowlers, hasn't he, Holder, to put England in again. And Shannon Gabriel charging up, and again he tweaked a hamstring. Still kept going. I mean, they do respond well for their captain, but they must be pretty tired now.
Well, full credit to them. They look like they've got great attitude. I did say at the start of the day, I have a huge amount of respect for leaders that make calls that, if it goes wrong, you're going to get criticised. Holder's going to get criticised for that decision. It was a massive gamble that he made. Third test in 3 weeks, the same bowling unit barring one, but the same three seamers are going to have to charge in again. You'd have to say, from the way that the pitch is played, I didn't think it did anywhere near as much as the pitch the other day. I thought that this was a typical Old Trafford first day wicket. There's a little bit there now and again. The odd ball seams, true bounce, doesn't spin a great deal. When it does, it's quite slow. That was a typical Old Trafford first day wicket. And even though there was a few clouds around, just for a short while, it generally doesn't have the same effect as some of the grounds in the country. If you get clouds at Headingley, I don't know why, because you get clouds at Headingley and Trent Bridge, it's going to hoop round corners. For whatever reason, it doesn't always do that here. I'm pretty sure if Jason Holder could have that decision again at the toss, knowing now what that pitch has done, he would have batted first and just asked the England team to do something different. I was impressed with Rory Burns at the top of the order. I think he's looked good throughout the whole series, and he must be kicking himself that he's got out to Roston Chase 3 times.
Yes.
An off spinner he's decent, but he's not mystery. He's not
and cutting again.
Cutting again twice in the series that he's got out in that fashion. Ben Stokes got a decent delivery, roughed up by the short ball. Carlos was smiling with a huge smile in the green when he saw the bounce as well. Maybe that was the downfall for Ben Stokes. Maybe his bat was just going out towards Gully because he's expecting the short ball, and he was going to play the pull shot, and it's a full length nip back, and his bat just came across the line of the ball. But from an England perspective, when you've gone with a batter less and you're 4 down for 122, and you end up the day 258 for 4, and a young player in Ollie Pope, I have to say, he's the best young player that I've seen in the England team since Joe Root. And then Jos Buttler, we all know how popular he is. We all know that within this England group and management and selection group, they are desperate for him to be consistent at Test cricket because he brings so much to the dressing room. But you have to go out and do it, and you have to score runs. Well, he's given himself a great chance to go and get a big score.
Well, hasn't he just? 56 not out overnight. He's got a great chance to shut everything up.
Well, he's facing an attack that is tired, and he's got a second new ball. If he can see that off for 10 or 15 overs in the morning, there's a big score out there for Jos. I thought his balance was excellent.
Yes.
I just look at that front foot. I always look at players at this level. Can you play a forward defence with balance, with control, eyes under the ball, and play it back down the ground? Well, he did it straight away because of that front foot. If you go back to his second innings dismissal at Southampton, his front foot is shut off, so it's like 90 degrees. His toes pointing to cover point, and he's moved his foot across, and his head goes with it, and his balance goes with it, and he can't get back access towards that full of length to live, particularly the ball that nips back. By just opening the front foot up, it just allows you to get back towards where the balls come from, and that's what he did today. So technically a lot better, but 56 doesn't buy you another 10 test matches. It probably buys you the Pakistan series.
Take some heat off.
You get 100 and you're in for a while, so he's got a great chance to go and get the 3 figures.
Yeah. We will hear from Ollie Pope. I think he's doing
in the diary room
for interviews, which again is a real change. And you have to, I think, say well done to the way that England are doing their media these days. A few years ago, 91 not out. You asked to speak to someone. Oh no, it might put him off. No. He's on 91. You wouldn't have been allowed to interview him.
I apologise. I think I did that once in 2002.
I think you might, but it's true, isn't it?
I think I was 190 not out as well.
Well, you still didn't come and speak to the press. Well, there you go.
Gonna put me off.
It has changed. So I think we'll hear from him any moment now. He's going to make it round to our interview position, which of course is down by the boundary at the moment. Interesting, Carlos. When I interviewed Jason at the toss, he seemed to suggest that part of the reason for putting England in was actually because he thought it was quite damp, and therefore the spinner Cornwall might be more effective. Do you think, in hindsight, that perhaps to have batted first might have been, I don't know,
the problem I
a
think
better
with,
option?
The problem I think with the West Indies attack is that the batting lineup, is that you can't quite fully trust them. You always feel as though they're 1 wicket away from being rolled for 190, 200. They've offered a lot of resistance in the series thus far and made it to 300. But as you saw with the second test and the first innings, it's very easy to just blow through them. And in a crunch game, if you get that batting lineup there and there's a bit under the pitch, the cover was on and it was sweating for a bit, and you find yourselves 50 for 4, 50 for 5, then it's hard to get back into the test match. And they're banking on the strength, which is the bowling attack, to eke out some early wickets, finish the day strongly, probably get 5-6 wickets, and take some of the pressure off the batting lineup. It worked well in Southampton. It didn't work so well in the second test because of the amount of runs that England got, and they're still quite in the balance now. They're still 2 wickets away, so it hasn't been the most favourable decision, as Varney said, but I understand why they would have made it.
Why it was done. And you've always talked about Cornwall's ability as a slip catcher. Wow. That was. We'll talk about that in a second, because Ellen Roldroyd's with Ollie Pope.
Ollie Pope, congratulations. You have not quite got to the 100 yet, but it's looking good. How does it feel to have got some runs there today?
Yeah, it does feel nice, especially after missing out in the first few games. I think in this intense environment, you can end up spending too much time thinking about your failures, so it's nice to sort of go in overnight with a few behind my belt.
How do you think you're going to sleep tonight?
Hopefully I'll sleep well. Hopefully take a sleeping tablet. I normally do if I'm not out overnight, because I normally struggle, and hopefully hit the hay pretty hard.
Right, yeah. Well, at least you haven't got far to come in the morning afterwards. Just had Michael Vaughan on Test Match Special saying he reckons you're the best young batsman to come into the side since Joe Root. What do you make of that?
Yeah, it's a massive compliment, especially for sort of an ex-England captain and one of the greats, to make those kind of comments. But yeah, I take it as a massive positive. I don't necessarily see it as extra pressure. It's just a nice thing to sort of have said about you, and hopefully I can sort of fill those shoes.
Do you feel such a thing as pressure?
Yeah, to be honest, I do. I think you're lying if you say you don't, especially being young, and sort of people do talk a lot and you do read these things, but I think it doesn't change how I play on the pitch. I'm not out there thinking, I've got to live up to what they're saying. So it doesn't change the way I play, so I just use it as a positive.
Do you just enjoy batting?
Yeah, I love batting. I think I hate getting out. It's nothing worse than getting out. So, and it's the worst feeling being back in the shed. So while I'm out there, you've got to enjoy it.
Do you have a discussion among the group this morning about the fact that they'd opted to leave out Zach Crawley? So everyone was going to have to push up the order a little bit, and maybe a little bit more attention would come on what you could get on the board.
It's not necessarily a chat we had. Obviously, I think just the way obviously Stokesy's. We're going to see how he is with bowling. So unfortunately for Zach, it's just the way it is. I mean, a couple of innings ago he got a brilliant 70, so it's a shame for him to miss out. But yeah, it's not something we talk about. You know the pressures you're under, and I think everyone knows their role in the side pretty well.
What did everyone say to you when you came up onto the balcony just now?
Just a few sort of pats on the back and well played, and everyone sort of comes over and says well done.
And I imagine everyone's pleased for Jos Buttler as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I think he's been the way he's obviously he hasn't got the big scores that he would have liked in this series, but I think he's looked really threatening, especially sort of in that first innings at Southampton and the first innings here last week. And it's nice to see him get over that 50 mark, and hopefully we can kick on.
And in a game like this, where we're probably going to lose some time to the weather, how do you see the next few days panning out?
Well, hopefully the weather doesn't affect it too much. If Jos and myself can try and sort of put on as many as possible, I'm not sure exactly what we're on now. We'll just keep trying to bat as long as possible. I think the way we both play, the runs will come. And if we can bat big, then I guess the dream scenario would be able to sort of put them in, make them follow on and go again. But the pitch is spinning. It's offered a little bit with the new ball, so there is stuff in there for the seamers. Very well done, and sleep well tonight. Thanks very much.
Cheers, Ollie.
There we go. Ollie Pope always strikes me as being a very, very uncomplicated character. He just talks about his game. One of the greats. Carlos, did you know that we are in the presence of one of the greats? I hadn't realised.
I'm very aware. We're not talking about Adam. We were talking about Michael Vaughan.
I would say my comment about Ollie is a lot closer to kind of him becoming great than his comment about me, I have to admit. No, I think he's a wonderful player.
Yes.
You can just see young players when he came on the scene a few years ago and he was playing those big drives outside of Ofstum, you could tell he was probably not ready in his mind. His game was possibly ready, but he probably wasn't ready to cope with the big surroundings of Test match cricket, the kind of spotlight that you're under. But I think we saw pretty much straight away that was a young player that was going to come back in and have success at this level. He just makes batting, look busy. He plays well on the front foot, the back foot. He's always trying to score. Against the spinner, I love a player against spin that kind of dances down to not the ones down the ground. Most of the time people come down at the wicket to spinner to launch into the stands. Well, he comes down to unsettle the length of the spinner, which is the sign of a quality player. He looks already like he knows his own game, and that's a good sign for a young player. He's got obviously a few boxes to tick, going to India, playing in subcontinent conditions, Australia in a year and a half time, obviously to face that attack in Australia conditions. That's like the big test as a player. Can you do that? You can do it here. Can you do it in India? Can you do it in Australia? But I don't see a great deal going wrong with his game. I think he's got a game that can pretty much cover all the different conditions.
Similar, Carlos, your thoughts?
Yeah, I agree. What I love about him is coming in when he came in, the position of the game, the position of the series, being a batter like, it's easy for a young player to come in and think, hold up, I can't lose my wicket. Instead, he automatically thought, let's get some runs on the board. And you can see it was almost like a flip of a switch. When Butler came in and started to struggle, he was like, no, we don't play at this tempo. This is the tempo I'm accustomed to. And watching a young man dictate a World Cup winner and the way he plays his innings, the impetus that they have in the partnership, it was impressive. And there are a lot of things that go on past the forward defence, the drive, the pull, and it's things like that, the personality, the character that will stand him in good stead at this level. I've really enjoyed it. It's almost as though you have to get him out. You can't keep him quiet. He'll sweep, he'll pull, he'll cut, he'll drive, he'll dance down the wicket, the ball along the ground. It's been fantastic to watch. And as I said, it's easy to nitpick and, pull out the tactics of Jason, pull out the tactics of the spinners. Sometimes you just got to give credit, and he played very, very well.
We were going to talk about Cornwall and that slip catch. For such a very big man who clearly is not very mobile, just the size of him, but the reaction speed, one hand, bang, to his right, was incredible. For me, the biggest thing about that catch was just be the trusting in his instincts, trusting in his ability to grab the ball. A lot of times you see players that slip or short extra cover or short mid-wicket, they think too much and they try to get their hands in that perfect position. The hands are stiff, it hits the heel of the hand and it bounces all over the place. For him, he was happy. Just get my eyes, follow it, and let the body react. So the sign of a good catcher and a good fielder when they're able to do stuff like that. So he didn't know much about it, but he trusted his instinct and he came up with a fantastic grab.